The Blast from Our Past Network.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom. Tonight's episode, The Howling, starring D. Wallace, Christopher Stone, and Patrick Macnee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcasting After Dark. I am one half of the Pad team proper, Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C. Joined with me, as always, is my brother from another mother, Zach, the total snackage Schaefer. And tonight, we are reviewing 1981's The Howling by Joe Dante, and this was selected for us by Cam Sully over on Patreon. And Zach, where do we know Cam Sully from, besides Patreon, and besides being our friend?
Oh, he's our friend, he's our patron, but he's also got a great podcast called the Jacked Up Review Show Podcast, and you all should go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I've been on there, Corey's been on there. I'm sure I'll be back at some point. But hey, Cam, you got to have both of us on your show at the same time. Because we can make that happen, folks. Anyways, Cam he's got great taste. He's got very eclectic taste. One of the things I love about Cam being a patron producer, and of course you can be a patron producer, a Patreon producer, if you go to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark and sign up to the highest tier. If you're already a Patreon member and you're considering bumping up to the highest tier, go ahead and do it, because you become a patron producer of the show. We'll break down a movie for you. But like I said, one of the reasons I like Cam's selections, as the other selections as well from other Patreons and friends of ours, he's like very thoughtful about what he chooses, and like he wants to make, he usually picks something that like either is a little off kilter or something he knows we're going to enjoy. So this one was between Howling 2 and Howling 1. And I told Corey offline, I was like, we should probably just go for the original one, even though, 2 is very bonkers. And then I was like,
absolutely bonkers.
if we, 2 is, so heavy on nudity and like the whole, and I'm like, oh wait, actually 1 is too. So never mind.
Shockingly.
Never mind. Surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, Cam's given us movies like Steel and Lace was his last pick, and we both love that one.
Great.
And then he also gave us like Android and, other stuff too. So Cam, thank you so much for being such an awesome person and keeping the lights on at Pad Studio West and Pad Studio North. So thank you so much. Zach, The Howling, what is your familiarity with this film?
Well, I feel like I used to watch it all the time, but then I realized now, after forgetting that there was so much nudity in it, I probably didn't watch it that much as a kid. If I did, I probably watched the television cut. I probably did. I have a vague memory of it. I haven't watched it in decades, so getting to revisit it was a lot of fun. And but yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. Unlike you, who I have a feeling you've watched it quite a bit.
Oh yeah, this is hands down my favorite werewolf movie. It was heavy rotation as a kid. It also informed everything that I love about werewolves, like specifically the kind of werewolves that I love. I'm sure I brought this up on the werewolf episode of TV Obscura, the TV show Werewolf. But I love the, werewolves that stand on their hind legs, on their haunches. I love it when they have long snouts and big ears, like basically the exact opposite of the Lon Chaney style, werewolf that you used to see from the old Universal movies and everything. And, kind of like, to counterpoint that, I do love American Werewolf in London, and we're going to have to discuss a lot of similarities because they came out at the same time and everything. But one thing that I kind of like was a barrier for me as a kid was I didn't like that he was on all fours in American Werewolf in London. I prefer mine standing up. But Zach, I want to throw this at you. first off, what is, and I think I said it, right? This is my favorite werewolf movie of all time. I love
Yes.
it. Dog Soldiers is my second favorite. So what, Zach, is your favorite werewolf movie?
Sorry, Fozzie was about to bark, but she didn't. You're fine.
No,
you're
she's
fine.
she's a werewolf. She heard her Ken being mentioned.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so is this my favorite werewolf movie? I'm going to say it was. And for the same reasons you listed. I'm going to also put this out there. I'm not a huge American Werewolf in London fan. I think it gets a lot more attention than The Howling does for, I don't know why though. Like it makes me wonder. I love werewolves, but I'm not a huge werewolf movie fan. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so many of the, I did not like the Jack Nicholson movie. I did not like the Benicio del Toro movie. I did not like the, I'm trying to think. Dog Soldiers, I know you love that movie, and I haven't watched it in forever. When I first watched it, maybe it was the mood I was in. I was not a huge fan of that. Howling's always stayed with me, though, and I've always appreciated and loved it. And now watching it again, I'm like, yeah, I could see this being my favorite. You know, American Werewolf in London has its moments that are great, but I feel like it plods along a little too long, and you know, yeah, there's more to love about this. This is like a smooth 90 minutes. I think American Werewolf in London is a little bit longer. I feel like it felt like it was.
Yeah.
In fact, it's only about 5 more minutes longer. But
it
anyways,
feels longer.
yeah, it really does. Fun fact, or just connecting with The Howling and American Werewolf. American Werewolf in London came out in August. This came of 81. This came out in April of 81. So this was the first. And, you know, I always joke, we've joked about this. Hollywood does that thing where they release 2 of the same movie. Yeah. And I thought that was something that was happening in the late 80s, early 90s, but apparently it was happening quite a bit. Always.
Yeah.
So I did show Bodie the original Wolfman with Lon Chaney over a year ago. Last summer, he was really into wanting to watch the original monster movies from Universal. So we watched that. I think it's like 65 minutes long. It's really short. It might be an hour and 10 minutes. That's great. But again, it's like those movies like Wolf and American Werewolf, it's like one monster, you know, one guy. This is more about like, you know, this is not about one guy. This is about a village, a pack. Yeah. So that's why I love it so much more. And of course, Bad Moon, we've brought up before, and I'm sure we will bring it up again because apparently it's in my stack of movies to review. I will say Michael Pare loved doing that movie. And I wanted to love that movie more than I did back in the day, but I haven't watched it since I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, that was I've only seen it once, I think, on like VHS. Bad Moon is what I'm talking about. And I kind of feel like I had the same feeling, but like, you know, knowing your love for Michael Pare and everything, like I was like, I'd like to revisit this because I do remember liking the werewolf in it. I just remember maybe it just didn't have as much to it as I remember. Well, I always thought it was cool with the book it was based on called Tor. It's all from the family dog's point of view. So I've always wanted to actually read that, but I never did.
Well, it's written and directed by Eric Red, who did The Hitcher and Body Parts, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's got a great, you know, I equate Eric Red to Shane Black in some ways. Like, I feel like he had some really good stuff, but, you know, Shane Black also had The Predator, and
yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
but kind of back to the whole comparison of American Werewolf in London and this. I mean, yeah, they both came out on the same year, but so Rick Baker was originally supposed to do the effects for this movie. I don't know if he got poached, you know, by what's his name, Landis for American Werewolf in London, but basically he went over to that project, and Rob Bottin, you know, the makeup effects artist who did, you know, The Thing and everything and whatnot. He's kind of like, he was the rock star of effects back in the day. He picked up the mantle on this one. And honestly, you know I love this movie more than American Werewolf in London, but I also love the transformation scene, the big set piece Eddie Quist transformation scene in this more than I like the American Werewolf in London one. Now, yes, the American Werewolf in London one is impressive because it's in bright light of the hotel room or wherever he's staying at with his girl or whatever. It's bask in light, so you can see everything. Whereas this is in shadows and things are covered, but it's not that obscured by the shadows. The transformation here.
No, it's not. And of course, because Blu-ray or 4K, you get a better picture of it now. Look, to me, it's like, yeah, I love a good transformation, but I would rather have a better story. And I feel like the Howling story is more compelling to me than American Werewolf in London. I'm not dissing that movie at all. So before people go, oh, what are you talking about? And also, too, this is Bottin before he did, timeline-wise, release-wise, this is a year before The Thing. Yeah. So this is before he lost his mind and went down a rabbit hole of madness with John Carpenter in The Thing. But so he was in all his glory, and he was in his 20s, right? He was a kid.
Yeah, I think he mentioned in the interview, he was working on this when he was 21 or something like that, and which is just insane. I mean, the man is insanely talented, but it's funny at this point, I can always tell a Rob Bottin effect because he loves those air bladders, that are on their face and everything. But yeah, the effects look great, and yeah, this is definitely an effects heavy film, and also kind of put it into context. This was this in American Werewolf in London, coming out, there hadn't been a werewolf movie in 20 years, 30 years. I think something like 20 or 30 years prior. So it's been a while since a werewolf movie came out. And then I think these two movies hitting at the same time, both were actually pretty critically well-received films. American Werewolf in London and The Howling both were received well, audience-wise and critics-wise, and I think it led to a lot of werewolf-style films. Another one that I remember liking as a kid, or probably in my my teens, whatever, when I saw it, Wolfen. Do you remember that one?
I do remember Wolfen. I don't remember watching it, but I do remember it.
You remember the cover, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. And I feel like the werewolf character, for me, is better suited in an ensemble, like Monster Squad, for example.
Okay,
that's my favorite werewolf, the Monster Squad werewolf.
Okay.
But, and of course, I think Werewolf from Fox, that we love so much.
Love it.
I think that's why that show is so good, because it's a short form, it's 30 minutes and then you're done. So it's a quick setup and go versus, the meandering plotting of the struggle of the moon and what am I going to do? And oh my God, I can feel it coming on my body.
You're like, body.
Yeah, well, and wow, to me, it's so melodramatic, and that's why I kind of equate it to the Hulk. It's the same thing. It's a transformation. And the Hulk is better suited in the Avengers versus his solo movies.
Having in his own movie, you're right. And you brought it up, Zach. I think one thing that people sort of forget, or it kind of gets sort of lost post The Howling, is in The Howling, even Dick Miller's hey, they don't need the moon to change. They're shapeshifters. They can change at will. And as a kid, I loved that idea. I thought that was super cool. And then, obviously there's Howling birthed a bunch of sequels, and they're all pretty weird and terrible. But I feel like everyone's still stuck to the whole full moon thing. I feel like that's just so ingrained into the mythos.
Yeah. Who makes the rules? You make your own rules. You can do whatever the hell you want with them. We live in a multiverse world now. You can do whatever the hell you want. So, I love it in Monster Squad when the Wolfman explodes and then he's able to reconnect.
Yeah.
In this, when you get something blown off, well, you're kind of cursed, and it feels more like a curse in this than it does in Monster Squad, because in this, it's now you look like you're disfigured and deformed for the rest of your life, but you're stuck in that body.
As the cop in Reservoir Dogs says, I'm fucking deformed. Zach, so, we're going to get into the cast and crew, but I wanted to swing back around to something you had mentioned about how American Werewolf in London, even though it's 5 minutes longer, feels infinitely longer. And I think I want to kind of clarify and hone in on something because, Joe Dante directed this movie, and we don't need to get into his filmography because we already discussed him on The Burbs. So go back and listen to our review of The Burbs. And in a minute, Zach will kind of maybe enlighten us with some other stuff since he hosted a panel with Joe Dante. But it's not the fact that this movie is 90 minutes. And yes, obviously, we love movies that are 90 minutes, but we also, I think, don't mind movies that are 2+ hours or something if they're well paced. What the difference is, I think Joe Dante is a master craftsman at pacing. This movie, Gremlins, The Burbs, pretty much anything he does, I think there's never like a downtime. Every scene is interesting, and that's what makes it feel like it goes by fast. And I think that like Landis, maybe, I don't know him as in general is not as good at pacing, but I don't think that American Werewolf in London is as well paced as The Howling. And I think a lot of times, we look at that runtime of 90 minutes, we're like, oh, I like that. But it's also because the director paced the film so well that it just never drags at all.
Yeah, because there's tension throughout this whole thing. And, and it's dark humor too, just like American Werewolf in London is. They're very similar. Like it'd be nice to watch these back to back and see which one you fall asleep in.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Zach, you did host a panel. Which con was it a couple years ago?
LA Comic-Con, I believe 2 years ago.
Okay.
Might be 3 now, shockingly. But yeah, the Gremlins, the new batch, or Gremlins, The Secret of the Mogwai, the HBO cartoon was coming out, and Dustin and I hosted a panel with Brandon Lay, who is the producer of the show and one of the writers, and Joe Dante, and we had a great panel. Joe's funny because I was like, I hope he's having a good time. Turned out, I guess he did. And he runs a podcast called Trailers from Hell. And they consistently are chiming in and saying, hey, great job, or I love this movie, great episode. And, they that whole little community that he has there is really cool. Joe Dante, he's a legend, but he's also a film lover. So he likes to talk movies, and he's very like, under the radar, chill guy. So you can't get a read on whether he's having a good time or not, but apparently he did. So that episode is out on our regular audio feed. You just go back or, go into the archives of $2 late fee and you can listen to it. It was a lot of fun because I was bringing up some points to him that he was surprised that I mentioned, specifically Inner Space, which is my favorite Joe Dante movie.
Yeah, no, I knew that was going to come up. Did Howling come up at all in the conversation?
Howling did not.
Okay.
So, at some point I had talked about wanting to get him on the show on $2 late fee down the road, in studio or actually on a better audio, because not just in a room, like doing a panel. And if we do, I'll bring up the Howling.
Okay.
And Small Soldiers.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that one as well.
But like the guy is I could talk all day about Inner Space.
Oh, I know. That's one of your favorite movies.
It's just I don't know why I don't have that poster on my wall.
And you mentioned that he loves, films, and guys and gals, we're not going to call out every single reference in this breakdown. This movie is just chock full of character names, references it's all to like Wolfman movies, old Universal films. He's obviously the protege of Roger Corman, who kind of took him under his wing. That's why we're going to see Roger Corman do a cameo in the movie. We'll call it out when that happens. But this movie has a lot of Easter eggs buried in it, and you can easily go and find a YouTube video or just look on IMDb under the trivia. So we're not going to call out everything there, but this movie, beginning to end, is chock full of references, and I think those come from Joe Dante.
Yeah, you mentioned Reservoir Dogs earlier, and I wrote that in my notes. I'm like, Joe Dante, in some ways, he's not the only guy to do this, but it's like Tarantino before Tarantino. And
The Tarantino
was
horror movies.
Yeah, Tarantino's not the only guy to do this, where he takes actors that he admires that maybe have had careers that are like slowly setting. The sun is setting on their career, and he puts them in a really juicy role. This is one movie in particular where he does that. I feel like, you look at Joe Dante movies and you're like, oh, wow, he always has great ensemble cast, just like Quentin Tarantino does. But and I mean it's similar in a way because his ensemble is a lot of genre actors.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the ensemble cast, because this cast is massive, we're gonna call out a lot of people at the beginning, but then there's a bunch of people that we're just gonna call out when they pop up. Cough, cough, Dick Miller. There's just a million awesome actors in this movie. But Zach, before we do the actors, who wrote this movie? Or who was one of the writers?
Well, John Sayles was one of the writers. I think, actually, John Sayles, didn't he write Piranha?
Yes,
also?
He did. Yep, he did. And that there's another connection to Corman and everything.
Yeah, and John Sayles, if you don't know who he is, he's more well known on the art house film circuit because most of the movies, if not all of the movies that he's written and directed, are more dramas, like 8 Men Out and Mate One and Brother from Another Planet and Lone Star.
We always talk about Lone Star, dude.
We do. I love John Sayles. He's a great filmmaker and always does great work.
But is he a great actor though?
No.
I know. The one scene I hate in this fucking movie is the John Sayles scene. But we'll get to it. We'll get to that. So Zach, we obviously talked about Rob Bottin on the effects, director Joe Dante. The only other, the Terrence H. Winkless is the other person credited as writing. I don't know if he did Punch Up or whatnot, but he worked on Dark Star as one of the production of Dark Star. He didn't work on writing it. So yeah, I don't know if actually I don't know technically if John Sayles. No, you know what? I take it back. John Sayles is listed above him, so I'm assuming that John Sayles is the main writer, and then Terrence Winkless does Punch Ups, did Another Pass, yada yada yada. That's how these things happen in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
I will say one person that I'm not a fan of on the behind the scenes, and it's no disrespect, I just don't think it works for this film, is the music, the composer. And it's very 70s melodramatic, and it's by Pino Donaggio. And he's actually done a lot of genre films, Raising Cain. He's worked with Brian De Palma quite a bit, actually. So I will just list a couple of the movies that he's done with De Palma: Dressed to Kill, and Raising Cain. He actually did this, and Carrie. So there's 3 there. And Piranha, of course, Tourist Trap, which is not either a director, but it's a horror film.
Yeah.
Home Movies, which is another Brian De Palma movie, 79 that came out. Anyways, he's got The Fan, which is and Blowout.
That's a lot of shit right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got quite the resume. I just don't think it works for this.
Yeah, this was the first time that I actually paid attention to the music, because I the score, and it's one of those things, Zach, where I love this movie and I watched it so much that I know the score, and so it's not shocking to me. But when I listen to it on its own, or sort of actually pay attention to it, I'm with you. I don't quite love it. I'd say maybe I like 45% of it, but I'd say a good solid 55% I didn't love. Probably the thing I liked the most was at the end when Karen is transforming. There's this weird ethereal, almost choral sound going on that I dug that really stood out. But yeah, there's a lot of times where I'm just that was an odd choice. But at the same time, it's also burned into my memory so much because of how many times I've seen it that I don't know how to... I don't know how this movie would be without that score.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I'm just, it's those type of scores don't work for me. I do like Blowout, though. I think Blowout's one of my favorite De Palma movies, and I do like the score in that. So I don't know. I would like to see this. Maybe a synthy score would be better suited, but that's just me.
But 81, when did I mean we're just going on a tangent here, but when did synthwave get big in the 80s? Like mid 80s?
Carpenter, is doing
It's true. Yeah.
his stuff. So he was really but yeah, mid 80s is when it really started taking off, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You look at like someone like Craig Safin, who, he did orchestral scores, but he also did synthy scores too, or somebody like Richard Band, who did both, but I mean like mid 80s, but still, take it or leave it. I'm sure it's a lot of it's influenced by Hitchcock, and because this is definitely paying an homage to the original Wolfman movie. You want that melodic score with the strings. I get it.
Yeah. No, but it's funny you mention it because I'm with you, and I kind of felt the same way when I actually paid attention to the score of this. It's definitely not one of my favorites. Zach, this cast is stacked. Should we get into it?
Sure. We've got the whiniest actress on the planet, Dee Wallace, who I love Dee Wallace.
I do too.
But she's so whiny.
Yeah.
And she's so, but that's her strong suit. She's so good at playing like I'm going to cry every moment. She looks like she's going to literally cry every moment.
Yeah.
She also looks like she's the sweetest person on the planet.
Yeah. She
and
does.
So I've heard, she's our generation's mom, thanks to E.T. and Critters.
Well, that's the thing, man. So again, I'm watching this. When we do this show, it's fun to watch these movies because you actually pay attention, especially movies that like you're so used to seeing a million times, talking to your friends on the couch while it's playing. So it's kind of interesting to actually watch these movies and pay attention. And yeah, like in my mind, Dee Wallace is always a mom in everything. Cujo, Critters, E.T. and everything. And then I'm watching her in this. And in the tennis club scene, and I'm like, or the tennis court scene, I'm like, oh, you gotta bang and bod, mom, But that's the thing, like she was in, 10. She did, some nudity in 10 and everything like that, and it's just like, holy crap.
Just gonna let Corey sit for a minute with that. Yeah, and she's working all the time, by the way.
Yeah.
She's like literally in everything. She's still working to this day. Behind the scenes, I was trying to book her for a crossover episode last year for Pat and $2, and she was booked up until like February of this year, and she's back at it doing more stuff. So anyways, great actress and love her to pieces. You know who else I like, but I'm not only familiar with him from the TV show that he did, is Patrick Macnee from The Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, and he was in View to a Kill, but you know what? I don't really remember that movie that well other than the kick-ass song by Duran Duran.
Yeah, and this was literally the first time I realized that Dr. Wagner was the guy from the Avengers TV show.
I mean, he's the lead guy.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Yeah.
He is.
I know he's listed next in the credits, but I didn't put it in the intro because I put our mustachioed sexy boy in, but we'll get to him in a minute. But Dennis Dugan, it's funny because people will recognize him from a lot of Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, because he directs them. Happy Gilmore, Don't Mess with the Zohan, Big Daddy, and everything. Like, I was like, holy crap, he turned into a director.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. But he has one small scene in Parenthood when Steve Martin he's like Steve Martin's boss, and he's like, he wants Steve Martin to work more hours or something like that. And Steve Martin's character is Gil. He's like, Gil. And then Steve Martin finally goes, Dave. And I've never forgotten that. To this day, I still do that. Dave. Anyways.
The one thing I remember from that movie is when the lights go out and someone finds a candle holder, but it's the vibrator. Remember that?
Yeah, that movie. Oh my God. Parenthood is amazing. That is definitely Ron Howard's best movie he's ever done.
I saw it when I was like 10 or 11 and I laughed my ass off at the whole movie, but like I haven't seen it like ever since.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies that was on cable all the time that everyone was watching. But and Leaf, before he was Joaquin, he was Leaf Phoenix, and he gets caught with the porn and and he doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to talk to his dentist dad, and then, trashes his dentist dad's place. And it's so well paced and balanced. I love Parenthood. Anyways, we're not talking about Parenthood. We're talking about a dude with a amazing mustache and a cleft chin. And yes, he was in Cujo with the dude from Starsky and Hutch. They look like they could be brothers. That guy is Daniel Hugh Kelly. That's the guy from Starsky and Hutch. But I'm talking about Christopher Stone, who was in a movie called The Eliminators.
There it is. The Eliminators. No, The Annihilators.
Annihilators, Eliminators. Holy shit. Eliminators is another movie.
There were so many of those movies back then. But yeah, we reviewed that for a Cinema 9 podcast, and I still have the Blu-ray and everything. And one day, I think we're going to review it on this show as well. But that's a great movie, The Annihilators.
Yeah, The Annihilators is great. He's great in it.
Garrett Graham is great in it.
Yeah, apparently he was in, Christopher Stone was in Lassie.
The Lassie revived or whatever, the new Lassie that came out in the 80s.
The new Lassie.
And then he was also in D. Wallace because they were engaged. I think he passed away, unfortunately, in 1995. I don't know if they got a divorce before that or not, or if she changed her name afterwards, but she's no longer D. Wallace Stone. But as a kid, I remember her being D. Wallace Stone.
Like Meredith Baxter, Bernie?
Yes. Was she just Meredith Baxter now?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And I think Anyways, I remember Meredith Baxter made a movie called My Breast.
The one where you saw nudity on TV, right?
Yeah, because it was about breast cancer.
Yeah. And she had some honkers on her, too.
Of course. Well.
Zach's like, why did I even bring it up?
Cam's just like, yes, money well spent. Money well spent. Belinda Blasky, she plays Terry Fisher. She dies, spoiler.
Yeah.
She's been in a bunch of things.
Piranha.
Yeah, and, Gremlins, Small Soldiers. Oh, those are all Joe Dante movies. Okay, well, there you go.
Interesting. I don't remember her in Gremlins, though. As Mrs. Harris, who was that? The neighbor?
Yeah, I don't remember her that well either. Was she the one who goes into the bank and tries to
kill his dog? No, that was the lady that
No, I feel like her house is going to get foreclosed or something like that.
Okay.
Or I feel like she's also in Gremlins 2. She's in Erie, Indiana, which is a great TV show.
Oh, yeah.
She's in Joe Dante's segment on Amazon Women on the Moon, I believe. So Explorers, holy cow.
Who the hell was she in Explorers?
She doesn't have even a credit name, but it does show that she was in Explorers.
Okay, all right, interesting.
So there you go.
Our next person we just talked about a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, who was in My Tutor. Go back and listen to that one. That was fun.
Yeah.
But he's been in a bunch of, my God, we listed all the things that he's in, but I don't believe I mentioned that he was in Inner Space, and I love him in Inner Space. He's fantastic in that. Okay, so we're getting to a few legendary genre actors, John Carradine and Slim Pickens.
Woo!
So, both amazing. We talked about John Carradine in our Shockwaves episode. And Slim Pickens, look, just pick one role. I'm going to go with Blazing Saddles.
I'll go with Dr. Strangelove. So.
Okay. Whooping and a hollering. What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I love Slim Pickens anytime he's on screen. I think he's fucking perfect. I think he's a perfect human being.
Dustin and I talked about a movie that he was in with a guy, with a friend of ours named Chris Mayak. Chris Mayak has a popular YouTube interview show where he interviews a lot of anime actors, voice actors. We did like our top 5 or top 3 like underrated horror films, and Dustin brought in a movie called This House Possessed with Parker Stevenson and Lisa Eilbacher.
Parker Stevenson or Parker Stevens? Or I'm probably just thinking Fisher Stevens.
No, it's Parker Stevenson. Yeah.
Okay. Who is Parker Stevenson? How do I not?
You're just thinking of Fisher Stevens, I think.
I am. I am. Oh my God, this guy's Parker. He's a Stevenson, and he even spells it the same way too, with a V. Good for
the Hardy
him.
Boy. He's the Hardy Boy, and he's also from Baywatch. But he was in a movie called This House Possessed, which you can find on YouTube, and it is phenomenal. It's about this rock star who has like a breakdown basically and needs to take time off on the road, and he goes and stays at this home, but the home is haunted and it's in love with him, and every woman that he has that comes into the home, he tries to kill them off because it just wants to be with him. And Slim Pickens is his manager, and it's great. So there's an amazing song that Parker Stevenson sings called Sensitive You're Not, and it is. We've put it on the $2 late fee Instagram page. It blew up actually when we did it, and Parker actually chimed in. He's like, "Oh, great memories" or something. So, anyways, This House Possessed, Slim Pickens.
Yeah, there you go. And poor Elizabeth Brooks, she did not want to have her whole body exposed on screen like that. So she plays Marcia. Apparently, she was told that smoke and fire were going to be covering up her body when they filmed her nude scene. And I mean, it's not just like topless, it's full fucking frontal. So I mean, as a kid I was like, yeah. As 47-year-old man, I'm like, oh, that sucks, like, for her, because it's like, if you don't, like, she was like, I didn't mind being nude in front of the crew, but like, that's not what I signed up for. Like, this, have my entire body just on the screen like that, that's gotta fucking suck, dude. Like, seeing that for the first time.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Back before they had intimacy coordinators and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I mean, look, if she didn't want to do it and, that's messed up, it's too bad. Not gonna lie, it's the best part of her. But, that is a shame. It's a shame that had to happen to her.
It's also a shame she passed away in 95, and Stone passed away in 97. What was in the water in this movie?
Was it The Curse of the Howling?
Maybe.
And last but not least, as far as this cast is concerned, and we will get to the genre names as we get to them in the breakdown.
Yeah.
Picardo Robert, or Robert Picardo, the cowboy, if you will, from Inner Space.
Of course. He was also in Explorers. He was in that movie within, the movie on Explorers. But this was I think this was his first film, like movie film, because he was in an episode of Taxi, Kojak before that. But I think this is his first actual film. And then he goes on to just be BFFs with Joe Dante.
Yeah, he's done every genre thing you can think of, and of course Star Trek and China Beach. So I think that's where like most mainstream fans will know him from. But yeah, every Joe Dante movie, he's always finds a way to get in there. But the cowboy from Inner Space is my favorite of all time.
That's your favorite, of course. Fucking, I mean, that movie's so great. Last time I saw it was at your house when we did that outdoor screening that one summer. That was at this point probably 12 years ago.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, those are fun. You had like one summer where you did like outdoor screenings on your deck.
Yeah, I want to do that again. We have a nice little deck that overlooks the ocean and a big white wall that we can project things on, and it's time to bring that back, baby.
Baby! All right, buddy. Again, stacked cast. We got more of them to talk about in the breakdown, but we also have, I think, a lot to talk about in the movie itself. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it. Ling!
We've got to warn people. What do you see?
The Howling. Somewhere in this city, in this human jungle, it begins.
What do you see?
What's there?
What do you see, Karen?
What's there?
Somewhere in these woods, in this primal, sensuous, secret place, lies an experience too terrifying for words. And now, all anyone can do is watch and wait.
Tonight I'm going to show you something. Make you believe.
The Howling.
The movie opens with that sweet Avco Embassy logo. Bro, I love that logo so much.
Yeah, me too. There used to be an Avco Embassy Theater on Wilshire in Westwood, and every time I drive by it, the sign was out there on the street, and I was just like, oh God, I gotta go there someday. And of course, it closed, and it's now like an iPick, which is those high-end theaters, and it's fine. It is what it is. But like the Avco Embassy Theater back in the day, there's a lot of really good Avco Embassy films. I think The Fog is one of them, and I feel like maybe Escape from New York is as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I think every time we do a breakdown and I see that title card, I'm like, I love Avco, and then we have the exact same conversation every time. But this could be the first time someone's listening to us, so it's new to them. It's not new to Cam Sully of the Jacked Up Review Show podcast. We do get an awesome title card for The Howling, too. It's like, black scratches or red scratches on a black screen, and then it shatters into glass. It's no The Thing, which is probably still the best title card of all time, but I like the fact that they put effort into it. Yeah,
and it's a little bit of a foreshadow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, a lot of werewolves coming through windshields in this one.
Yeah, a lot of breaking glass at the end.
Mm-hmm. As the opening credits play over a distorted TV monitor, we hear news reports of bodies being linked to a serial killer. The picture becomes clear, and we see Dr. Wagner on the news saying, "Repression is the father of neurosis. Stress results when we fight against our impulses." We see a haggard-looking man watching the news segment in the dark. We later find out that this is Eddie Quist, who is Robert Picardo, who I should have mentioned earlier. I still never see Robert Picardo in Eddie Quist. Like, he is completely gone.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Like, I feel like I only learned that it was played by Robert Picardo like 10 years ago. Like, it was my entire life. I had no fucking clue.
I'm also realizing now it's very similar to it's not the same, but because Griffin Dunne, it reminds me of Griffin Dunne's character in American Werewolf in London, where he gets attacked and he comes back as the ghost all mauled up. But it's like the comic relief, at the end, because he's kind of a comic relief, even though he's a monster. There's like a little hint of comic relief. I don't know, just similar vibes.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's so funny how we always talk about it. There were two Mummy films that came out at the same time. One of them was obviously infinitely more successful, the Brendan Fraser one. There was Leviathan and Deep Blue Sea or Deep Star 6, Leviathan. It always fucking happens.
Right. What was the other Mummy movie that went with the Brendan Fraser one?
Dude, it came out in the theater, but I think it was like in and out super quick. I just remember there was another fucking Mummy one at the same time.
Oh, God. And then Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
And both of them sucked.
It's probably just
they
because...
didn't suck, but,
Yeah, I didn't love either of those. It's probably because, like, what is it? Like, all the executive producers, like, Hollywood is such a small town. It really is. So at least, like, behind the scenes and stuff. So, like, I think they all just go to the same bars. And, like, one guy's like, yeah, I'm working on this, like, underwater movie. And the other guy's like, let me go and work. You know what I mean?
I'm working on one. I'm working on an underwater movie, too. Yeah.
I just felt like Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah. Well, what happens if there's a volcano under La Brea tar pits? You just say, nice ash. felt like they dropped the ball on that. Nice ash.
Oh, Volcano. Yeah, Dante's Peak. Both of them sucked.
They really did. I mean, Pierce Brosnan, I was like, yeah, he's not going to carry a movie if it's not a James Bond thing.
Yeah. Oh, Deep Impact and Armageddon. They came out
yeah.
same year too.
God.
Jesus Christ.
I like Deep Impact more than Armageddon, I'll tell you that much.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll unpack that later. We see that Dr. Wagner's being interviewed by a TV news reporter as he promotes his book. Wagner says, "Man is the combination of the learned and the instinctual, of the sophisticated and the primitive. We should never try to deny the beast, the animal within us." Everything the Doctor is talking about at the beginning of this movie is the thesis for this film. We've talked about it so many times. A good filmmaker will put the thesis of their film in the first act, and this is it, all right here, laid out for you. Man, like our inner nature, our inner animal, and how we have to be human is to repress the inner animal or not. Like it's the argument back and forth about it.
Yeah, I feel like the song "I'm No Animal" by Felony should be playing in the back. It's from Friday the 13th 6, I think. I'm no animal with you, no animal, oh, with you.
What, was that made for Friday the 13th Part 6, or did they just use it?
No, it's on the soundtrack. It's the scene where I think the van is rocking, the RV.
Don't come a knocking.
Yeah, but that song is a banger.
Dude.
I introduced it to Dustin, and it was like game over for him.
Okay, I will go listen to it after we're done recording. I still have Bump in the Night and Neon Slime high in the rotation. So
your question got answered too, by the way, when I talk about upcoming things for $2 late fee.
Oh,
your Bump in the Night did get answered.
Yes, that is so awesome. I can't wait to listen to your interview with Todd Allen. I'm so pissed that I wasn't there. After all these years, I wasn't able to do it because I was flying that day.
Yeah, that's a story that I'll save. Well, I'll save it for potentially wrap up.
Wrap up, yeah. We'll talk about it there. In the station control room, we see the head of the network, Fred Francis, Kevin McCarthy, telling the news director to cut away from the Doctor if anything breaks. He's referring to reporter Karen White, who's currently out on the seedy LA streets hunting down a lead on Eddie Quist. We find out that she's been working extensively with Dr. Wagner on the Quist case. He's been coaching her on how to talk to Eddie. Zach, one thing I do love about this movie is the movie starts and we are at the tail end of this investigation, and we are I love movies that do this where it drops you in the middle of something happening. You mentioned with Volcano and Dante's Peak, whatever, Pierce Brosnan. It's almost like a James Bond movie, how everyone they always open and he's in the middle of a case already. I love how this movie opens and we just a lot of information hits us and we have to decipher sort of what's going on, because they talk about things as if we know what they are because the characters know what they are. And I guess another aspect of that coin that I like is it doesn't really dumb things down for the viewer, so you have to kind of absorb everything that's sort of coming at you.
Yeah, I was just talking about the movie Daryl last month with Grace, or maybe that was the month before. But anyways, similar deal where the movie just opens and you're in the middle of the action. You're in the middle of something happening, and then you start to slow it down and get into a groove of okay, now the movie's beginning. But it's that immediate impact, instead of, it's like teaching, when I was teaching kids to write stories, instead of writing, once upon a time or one day, start your story with an impact, bang, I fell off my bike or whatever. The minute that happens, you're wait, what? How did you fall off your bike? What happened? What was the cause of this? It's a great way to start the story.
Yeah. No, dude, you're 100% correct. And the funny thing is, back before George Lucas, I think even, started thinking about making episodes 1, 2, and 3 and everything, someone asked him, why is Star Wars episode 4? And it's because he said, because the stories are always interesting, in the middle. You start it where sort of in the middle of things, and it also gives a sense that there's a history before it. So already in this movie, we get a sense that, Karen D. Wallace, she knows Terry, she's already knows Chris, she obviously has a relationship, she's married to Bill. It's all these things are already there, and we don't the movie doesn't explain all these characters to us. We just have to sort of figure them out as they go, because they're already in the middle. They're actually at the climax of Karen's investigation. That's probably been going on for months.
Right. And this does remind me a little bit of the opening to Dawn of the Dead, where they're in the newsroom and, all the things are going on.
100% same thing. Dawn of the Dead does the same thing, where it's like we're already in it, with that SWAT team and everything, at the beginning. Like we're already in it.
By the way, I'm going to rescind my feelings about the original Dawn of the Dead. It is pretty fucking fantastic.
Did you just rewatch it?
I watched it in the theater with Diallo a couple years ago with Ken Foray was there speaking. He was drunk and he went on. No, he wasn't drunk, guys. I felt like he might have been, but he was joking about how he was in the green room, like having a few. But he went on many tangents and rambled for quite a bit. But it was amazing watching that screening there. I was like, wow. See that movie on the big screen if you can, because it's way better than watching it at home.
Yeah, I never have. I've never seen it on the big screen. Cut to Karen walking through an alley in Skid Row and getting hassled by a John thinking she's a hooker. Cut back to the news station and Karen's husband, Bill, Christopher Stone, is talking to producer Chris, Dennis Dugan?
I think it's Dugan.
Okay.
Because then there's Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
And that's
2 G's.
2 G's, yeah. Okay, that makes
sense.
So Chris, they're talking about the Eddie Quist story that she's on. He asks Chris if she's seen the footage of Eddie's victims. Chris says that Karen has, but didn't tell Bill because she didn't want to worry him. Bill says, I'm worried. And I guess it's just because I took it as like they kind of were like white blonde ladies. So I thought maybe they kind of like looked similar to her, but it wasn't like mutilated or anything. Like we saw some images of his victims and I didn't really see what the point of that sort of note was.
Yeah, I feel like they give you enough of a taste that, well, this guy's demented and perverted and people have died.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then it's just like, he's dangerous. Be careful around him, essentially.
Right.
And I kind of like in my notes call this area Skid Row, but it's not. It's Western and something. It gets garbled when you get the cross street, but it is Western. So that's not Skid Row, which is in sort of down east-ish downtown LA.
This is Hollywood, isn't it?
I think, yeah, somewhere around there. So I should probably just call it Hollywood. But I wrote Skid Row in the notes. Karen opens a phone booth and sees a smiley face sticker inside. She closes the phone booth door and says, okay, guys, this is the jackpot. She gives her location, and that's when like she transmits it, and it kind of gets a little scrambled. And then she says she'll transmit as soon as Eddie calls. Back at the news station, we see that a handful of detectives are listening to her via a wire and tracking her whereabouts. One of these detectives is Meshack Taylor, a.k.a. Hollywood, from Mannequin.
And Designing Women.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe that. God, Diallo brings that up too a lot when we have TV Obscura. Like these shows we watched, I was watching Designing Women all the time.
Me too, buddy. Me too. I was watching Designing Women. I was watching Golden Girls. Kate and Allie.
Murphy and Brown. Cagney and Lacey. Oh my God, these shows. There's a new women's lawyer show coming out for Disney Plus. Actually looks really good. Like Glenn Close is in it. This all-star cast of female actors. They're like it's a female law firm. And Kim Kardashian's actually in it. And she looks like pretty good. Like her acting looks
interesting.
Good. So I'm like, it should be at this point. She's been in the public eye for for a decade or more.
She should have learned how to act by now.
Yeah. I have no problem with that, by the way. I'm like, whatever. Kathy Ireland was, no, she's not a very good actor. But,
yeah,
models turn actor. Not that she's a model, but whatever. She's a person, and looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Anyways,
okay.
Women stuff.
Women show. Well, that's the thing. It's so funny because that's probably a conversation we should have on TV Obscura. But it's like, yeah, there's supposed to be this divide of like, guys are into guy things, girls are into girl things. But yeah, dude, we watched all these strong female centered shows, and as a kid, I didn't have any fucking problem watching them. I watched them and I loved them.
Yeah, what's the show? We've talked about it before. Ann Jillian was in it, but it was like they all worked in the at the bar or whatever. They were all waitresses.
Alice?
No. Oh God, what's it called? It's a Living.
Oh shit! Yeah, I remember that show.
They're all like waitresses or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did want to. This is off the subject of TV talk, but back to the Howling. The smiley face sticker all I kept thinking every time I saw it was Evil Ernie. Do you remember Evil Ernie, that comic book?
Absolutely, bro. I was reading comics at the time. I think I had maybe one issue of Evil Ernie, but I remember because it was an independent comic, and it was like kind of hard to get a little bit, but I did pick them up at a comic book convention or something, and yeah, it was always like gory and everything. But yeah, he had a smiley face that was alive, and he was a zombie.
Yeah, and there was a there was a bullet hole in the smiley face with blood coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have the entire baseball card collection of those. Lady Death. Lady Death.
Yep. I remember that. I remember her because she had the big gazungas.
Well, that was like the heavy metal inspired. Yeah, that comic was great. You guys want a really cool horror comic? Go search out Evil Ernie.
Mid-90s, really, 94, 95,
yeah,
something around there.
Really good, really good. Why that didn't take off and become a cartoon series, I have no idea. Actually, I think they did a Lady Death cartoon series, but...
Yeah, or maybe, I remember something, yeah.
Anyways.
Back to the Howling.
Back to Howling.
Since the cops are getting interference and they can't hear Karen that well, they send a patrol car to look for her. Inside the patrol car, we see two officers. One is very old and played by the OG 50s movie actor Kenneth Tobey. He was in The Thing from Another World, but he was also in Inner Space.
Yes. That's where I recognize him from.
Okay. Have you ever seen Thing from Another World?
I probably did. But I can tell you I've watched Inner Space all the time.
More, yeah.
God, I love that movie.
The younger cop is Steve Neville, and he did a lot of character work on TV shows and everything back in the day. Pretty much everything in the 80s TV show-wise, he was on it, for an episode at least. So they drive around Skid Row looking for Karen, and dude... I swear to God, the dispatcher's voice is Jamie Lee Curtis. There is no credit in the credits for the dispatcher. Nothing on IMDb. Sounds like fucking Jamie Lee Curtis to me, which would make sense because I know that obviously we all love Halloween and everything like now. That didn't immediately propel her to stardom. She was still doing smaller things after that. It didn't just immediately rocket her to stardom or anything.
I mean, she's the voice of, in Escape from New York, she's the voice of, in the beginning of that too, the narrator.
Exactly, and that's what kind of made me think that maybe she's also the dispatcher's voice as well. I even tried Googling it, guys, couldn't find anything, so maybe something's out there is on it. Let me know, let us know in the comments of this episode when it drops if that is Jamie Lee Curtis, but it sounds like her.
I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. Here's something cool. Cut to news anchor Lou Landers, played by Jim McCrell, who also plays the same character in Gremlins, thus creating a shared universe with the Howling and Gremlins.
Wow. I mean, I know there's another Gremlin movie coming out. Let's do a Gremlin Howling.
That would be cool. Crossover with that. And this is a great scene because he's practicing in the bathroom mirror and he kind of he's practicing his newsy voice, and the news, But then when Bill walks into the bathroom, Lou pretends he's kind of just freshening himself up. And when he says, "Hi, Bill," it's a very Southern accent. So so his news voice is not his main voice.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I do that too, by the way. If I'm practicing something and then, Bodie or Kristen walk in, suddenly I just
adjust your tie.
I cut it. Yeah, I cut it.
Cut it out. Lou tells Bill, "That's a brave little girl you got there." And Bill just looks at him in disgust and walks out of the bathroom. Lou goes back to rehearsing in the mirror in his fake, voice. We see Terry, Belinda Blasky, and Bill go and meet with the three police officers to see how Karen is holding up. Those police officers are one of which is, Hollywood from Mannequin.
Yeah, rest in peace to Meshock.
I know. Cut to Karen in the phone booth with a man waiting for her outside the door. His back is to her, and she thinks it might be Eddie. Just then the phone rings, and she picks it up. That's Eddie Quist on the other end. Unfortunately, the detectives lose Karen's signal as Eddie tells her where to meet him. Bill is rightfully upset that his wife is out there hunting for a serial killer and no one knows exactly where she is. As Karen leaves the phone booth, the man turns around, and we see it's Roger Corman. Yeah,
it's just being it's very whatever cameo.
But the the camera kind of lingers on him a little bit. Like the scene kind of like gets drawn out because of him. And
He's
as a
huge,
kid,
by the way.
huh?
He's huge, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's a tall motherfucker. But as a kid, I knew the name Roger Corman, but I didn't know that was him. And I remember as a kid, I was like, why the fuck is the camera like still like watching this dude? What's this asshole smiling about?
What's this asshole camera got a boner for on this guy?
As Bill gives producer Chris shit about losing Karen, we see she's walking down Skid Row or Hollywood, looking at all the sex shops. She eventually walks into the porno store that Eddie told her to meet him in, and as she looks around, all the men inside clear out. That's true. That I assume that would be true. No women ever came into the video store that I worked at. But we did have one woman working there, and sometimes new people would get a little weirded out by that.
I am only familiar with those stores from what my brother told me, because he would go there all the time with his buddies and pile into a room together, to watch
with actual booths and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, just to clarify, the video store that I worked at did not have booths. We had regular movies in the front, and we just had the adult stuff in the back, but we made 100%. I mean, 100% of our money from the adult stuff. But we didn't have booths, though.
They would go into booths, and
holy shit.
Then he would describe what they watched, and I'm like, why do I need to know this?
Dude, I know that happened back in the 70s and the 80s. Like, people would watch pornos together. I never did that with my friends ever in my entire fucking life.
I never understood that. But did you ever see the movie Hanging with the Homeboys?
No, I don't think so.
Because they all pile into a room to watch one, just like my brother and his friends, and then the girl on the screen is a frequent customer to the grocery store that John Leguizamo works at, that he's into, and they recognize her, or he recognizes her, and he gets all freaked out by it. Okay. It's a great moment because you're like, what the fuck? Anyways, yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh, these floors are probably really sticky and gross. And,
yeah, I think they are.
I mean, what else? That's what you do there, guys.
Yep, that's the whole purpose of it. I would not ever sit down in one of those chairs. And this was back in the day before wet wipes. You know what I mean? Like, no, thank you.
Take a black light to that, and it's just the whole thing is purple.
It's all neon. It's just all.
It's all neon slime.
Yeah, there you go. Karen eventually makes her way back to the back of the shop where the private booths are located. She sees the same smiley face sticker on one of the doors and goes inside. The booth is very dark with only one light lit from behind. Karen sits down in the chair, and out of the shadows behind her, Eddie puts a quarter into the machine. A very extreme rape scene plays on the wall in front of them. This was filmed specifically for this movie, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Eddie says, I knew you'd come, Karen. We have a lot to talk about, you and me. Karen tries to turn around, but Eddie stops her. Cut to the two patrol officers talking to a prostitute who saw Karen. She tells them where the reporter was heading. Back in the news station, we see Dr. Wagner is still promoting his book called The Gift. Bill and Terry are in the control room with Fred watching the segment being taped. Fred says to Bill, waiting is tough. Bill doesn't reply. He just storms out of the room. Chris tells Terry to follow him. Back in the porno booth, Eddie tells Karen that his victims didn't feel a thing because they aren't real people. They could never be like him. But Karen is different. He watches her on TV and he knows how good he can make her feel. I'm going to light your whole body up, Karen. Eddie takes his hands off Karen's shoulders and backs away into the shadows. He starts breathing heavily and tells Karen she can turn around. As she does, we see that Eddie is backlit by the film projector. As he steps forward, Karen screams. As she does, the two cops that have been looking for her hear the scream, go running to the back room. The rookie cop blindly shoots through the door into the booth, killing Eddie Quist. And his partner calls him Quick Draw McGraw, and that's a reference that's dated now.
Yeah, that's appropriate. You can still use that. Right.
Yeah, but do people know like who that is anymore?
No, but I do. We do.
We do. It probably died with Gen Xers though.
Nowadays, that cop would be put on administrative leave or something like that.
No. That nowadays that cop would be put over to ICE, and he would just become an ICE agent.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
it's true.
The scum of the fucking earth. There's a slight time jump, and we see that the news crew and police are now on the scene. Bill is leading Karen away from the porno store as the detectives give the two beat cops shit for killing their suspect, who happened to be completely unarmed. Chris is on the scene too, and he tells Karen that he talked Fred out of putting her in front of the camera tonight. He tells her they can record something later. She can tell the story in her own words. Karen looks around completely in shock and says she doesn't remember what happened in the booth. So this is going to kick off, which I think is an interesting aspect of the film because it deals completely with PTSD and trauma. This movie also deals with trauma, I think, in a very realistic way, because I think what Karen saw, I think she saw, because I think in one of her last dreams we see that she actually sees Eddie, but moving throughout the entire film, her mind completely blocks out what the fuck she saw in there completely, to the point where later she says, like, all she remembers is walking into the booth and then being taken out. She doesn't remember anything in there. And I think that, for a movie that was, early 80s, 81, I think this is a very accurate representation of trauma and PTSD.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that until you just said it now.
And especially with someone who, my brother-in-law is military, my ex-brother-in-law, but he had PTSD and stuff like that. And your mind does shit, like block things out and everything.
Yeah, it does. Any sort of trauma, you build up that wall. So
just to keep to keep your mind safe. Your mind does a great job of keeping itself safe.
Right. It's weirdly, it's like it has its own control mechanism
that sometimes we can't even control.
Right. Exactly.
Hey everybody, Corey here. I just wanted to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim.
And I'm Dean.
And we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.
And now, back to the show. Cut to Karen taking a nap on her couch. She's having a nightmare about what happened in the booth, and Bill wakes her up screaming. Karen sobs and says that she turned around but didn't see him. So again, just kind of reinforcing the fact that her mind is basically blocking it out.
Yeah.
Cut to Chris and Terry at a halfway house, following a lead to what might be Eddie Quist's room. The walls are covered with newspaper clippings about the murders and charcoal drawings of faces, some human and some looking very werewolf-like. There's also bone sculptures lying about. As they look through Eddie's stuff, Terry finds a drawing of Karen on the floor. Terry says they should call the cops. Chris says eventually, then pulls out a drawing of a coastal landscape. Terry wonders if it's a real place. Some of the drawings in there are really good, by the way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Bottin did those.
Right? I kind of have a feeling he probably did, because they
really
look
cool.
like, yeah, they're really like charcoal and shit. I like that shit. Cut to Chris and Terry talking to Dr. Wagner as he looks over Xerox copies of Eddie's drawings, including the landscape one. They ask the doctor what he makes of it. Well, this sort of person is controlled by the right hemisphere of the brain. That dominates the non-rational, the artistic, the creative impulses. It's not unusual for a killer to draw as well as this. Chris asks if the doc would mind saying that in front of the camera, and Wagner agrees. Because he's kind of like, their TV station's go-to guy, psychiatrist guy. Terry says they are pushing Fred for a half-hour special called The Mind of Eddie Quist, although they'll be focusing the narrative on the beast in all of us. The doc remarks that they found Eddie's last name. Chris says he signed the drawings. I love how the doc kind of takes a look at it. He's like, indeed he did. And, and he kind of laughs, and you watch the movie for the first time, you're like, okay, but knowing that the doc is in on it, that laugh is now like, oh, Eddie, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to say, because I while we were discussing, speculating on where this was shot, it was shot in Hollywood, so it is supposed to be Hollywood.
Okay.
And then that scenic picture that Corey was describing earlier, that will come into play later, that's Mendocino, which I believe is Northern California. So
okay. Is
tracks.
that, because to me it all looks like, where they filmed The Fog, where they filmed, Halloween 3. Like, I'm sure that they're, vastly apart, but it's all that that West Coast essentially.
I think it's like north of San Francisco,
Okay.
Santa Rosa area. I think it's all up there, which is really beautiful.
How much time is that of a drive from LA up there?
7 hours.
Okay, so that's how long it took Chris to get there, not 45 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Not 45 minutes. Unless he's got a supercar, because he's a super guy.
Well, he's got a Mazda.
Yeah,
We'll talk about
yeah.
that at the end. Cut to Bill and Karen in bed trying to have a little sexy time. But as they're kissing, Karen has a flashback to that fateful night in the porno booth and pushes Bill off of her. She apologizes and says, she's just not ready yet. Bill says it's okay and kind of gives her a little peck on the cheek, but then he rolls over on his side with his back to her. And it's kind of like his body language doesn't sort of match what he was saying.
Yeah, and he's got like 70s big guy, no body hair, with his mustache. Big guy. Tom Atkins look. He looks like Tom Atkins.
He does have a Tom Atkins kind of vibe going on for sure.
Kind of something about him doesn't feel right. Well, it'll come into play later.
At the news station, we see Karen getting prepared for her triumphant return to the anchor desk. Chris and Terry are worried about her. They think it's too soon, but Fred is excited for the rating spike because everyone wants to see the lady that caught Eddie the Mangler. Unfortunately, things don't go well thanks to Karen's unchecked PTSD, and she freezes up on camera. They have to cut to a pre-recorded editorial segment as Karen is led off stage by Terry and Chris. Back in the control room, Fred is already setting up Karen's replacement in a very racist fashion. Listen, get me in touch with Fujimoto, or whatever her name is, and tell her to get ready for the 11 o'clock report. It's like, oh, Christ.
He's good. Kevin McCarthy's great at being an asshole.
As we saw in My Tutor.
And also Inner Space. Because it all comes back to Inner Space.
It always does, buddy. Man, I wonder why. I assume there's a Shout Factory or yeah, that would be Shout, not Scream Factory. No, nothing.
Nope. There's a Warner Brothers Blu-ray, but I think that's it.
Like a No Frills Blu-ray.
Yep, I'm pretty sure.
Shit, that's
shocking.
How is Arrow not put out, Inner Space?
I have no idea. Amazing soundtrack. Wall-to-wall, awesome movie. I don't get it. That movie needs to be celebrated more. It's not celebrated enough. It'll probably be on $2 late fee later this year.
Well, I will happily come on for that episode if you want me to.
I will.
I would like to have a reason to rewatch it.
Yeah, I will note that, and it will happen when I do it.
Cut to Karen talking to Dr. Wagner in his office. She says all she remembers is pushing the door open of the booth, and then she's outside with Bill, and the police are there. Her mind has completely blocked out the entire interaction with Eddie, but she remembers pieces in her dreams. Wagner asks how she and Bill are doing. Karen pauses and says, trying to communicate. Then she asks how crazy he thinks she is, and Wagner says, completely bananas. And the two share a laugh. Are you having a laugh? The doctor does recommend she spend a week or two at the Colony up north.
The Colony.
It's Dr. Wagner's private retreat for clients. He thinks Karen would benefit from the seminars and group therapy sessions that he conducts. I do like their relationship. They have a sweet relationship.
I do too. It's worth noting that Northern California was a popular spot for cults back in the day. So yes. Jim Jones, for example, that gets referenced later on in the movie. There's one cult that started down here. I'm blanking on the name, but I mentioned it before. There's a documentary on HBO about it. It had started with the best intentions, which I think a lot of these cults do, but it wound up in the Northern California mountains badly. So
this is kind of like playing in on that with the Colony and everything. It's all these experimental living things or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it still goes on to this day, but yeah. Woo, baby. Just go make some beef jerky and live in a cabin and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. All cults end in one of a few ways. One, everyone kills themselves. Two, all the girls, all the kids get molested and fucked. Or three, they just become worldwide religions, but they're still cults, and those two things still happen.
Yep.
Guys and gals, we are not big on religion over here at Podcasting After Dark.
I'm so excited about the new pope. Oh, yeah, we'll talk to all the people that were, molested and raped, and whether he covered that up or not. Do some research, y'all. Read a book. I'm turning this off, and I discovered this podcast, and I found out you guys are woke.
Go woke, go broke. Well, we are broke, so maybe it's right.
We are broke. Someone wrote that on $2 page, and I'm like, what did we say that made you think we were what? Okay, well, fine.
I mean, you and Dustin are the wokest motherfuckers I know. It's so angry.
I mean, it's true, but
I know.
Well,
what do you mean? What did you say? Your mere existence is woke.
I'm like, what? I don't know. What did we do? What happened?
Where's the records room?
Where the hell's the records room? What kind of name is Poon, anyways?
Comanche Indian. Cut to Bill and Karen, Moon River. Cut to Bill and Karen driving up the coast. In the car, Karen tells Bill maybe she doesn't want to remember, but her husband says she has to do something about the nightmares because it's affecting him. It's affecting his sex and everything. So she has to do something about it.
God, it's so much. I'm going to edit myself. I'm editing myself.
Karen relents and says, I just hope these people aren't too weird. And then cut to by the way, there's a lot of good editing in this movie because she says not too weird. And then it cuts to literally John Carradine, sort of howling, laughing type of thing, right into the camera. There's a few of these times where, someone says something and then it cuts to the juxtaposition of that.
Yeah, and then therein lies the humor.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Dante, Gremlins obviously has humor in it. Inner Space has a lot of humor in it, too. I think Joe Dante does a great job of inserting humor into everything. Even a movie that is just straight a horror movie like this, the humor is good.
Well, that's the thing about The Burbs that we talked about.
It's
a comedy, but it's also horror.
Yeah.
Because when the horror does hit, it is not for laughs. So you're like, whoa, this is serious. So
yeah. So basically we're at this big bonfire on the beach with everybody from the colony is there. It's kind of like a meet and greet, and it's at nighttime.
It's a drum circle. Oh, I can feel each other's chakras. Oh, where's my crystals?
As Bill and Karen walk around, we see a band playing in the background. They walk over to Jerry, played by James Murtaugh, who's cooking a giant cut of beef over a fire. Zach, where do we know James Murtaugh from?
I mean, he's been in a lot of different projects. The last OG was the last thing he did, but The Blacklist, The Good Wife, Law and Order, Vanilla Sky.
He's a quintessential character actor. The kind we talk about don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and he looks like an asshole. He's probably not. He's probably a really nice guy in real life.
But he looks like an asshole.
yeah, he's been in everything.
Yeah. He introduces himself to the couple and says, Jerry Warren, software. Bill says, Bill Neal, hardware. Karen kind of is he doesn't get it, Bill. And so Bill kind of is like, I own a couple of health clubs, barbells, hardware. Jerry kind of shrugs and offers them a bit of prime rib, but Bill says he doesn't eat meat, and that's going to be important later.
He's one of those Los Angeles. It's so funny that LA was like, whoa, we all, I'm vegetarian and I drink smoothies, and you're one of those pansy guys, and then you realize actually that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. It's just you may have a clean heart, but you have a lot of gas.
Yes, this is true. Corey's going to find out when he comes down here to visit, and he eats vegan all week. He's eating vegan with us.
I was talking to Bert about that, about how farty I get when I stay with you.
Wait till I take Corey to the vegan McDonald's knockoff.
Holy God.
I think it's Mick something, but
I'm gonna explode. Just then, Jerry's wife Donna comes up to Karen, starstruck. She says that Karen is her second favorite newscaster, right behind, what's the name of that Oriental girl, Jerry? And I like how Jerry just looks mortified by this.
That's really funny. Yeah.
Bill and Karen laugh and walk away to meet other members of the colony. Next, they are introduced to Charlie Barton, played by Noble Willingham, who supplied the cattle for the feast tonight. And Zach, where do we know Noble Willingham from?
Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah. Was he he was like their captain or whatever, right? Wasn't he?
He was. You know, he looks a little bit like Wilford Brimley.
Yep.
A little bit like Slim Pickens with a mustache.
Yep.
It's just like that overweight white guy
with a mustache.
Who's always 50.
Yes.
He's always 50.
Even when he was probably 25, he still looked 50.
How old are you, young man? 50? I'm 6.
Yeah, exactly. And did you watch Walker Texas Ranger pretty regularly back in the day?
You know, it's funny because Diallo's always giving me shit for it. I never really watched that show all that much. I didn't like that show because Chuck Norris really didn't do much. Like there wasn't a whole lot of action in it. I kind of want to revisit it now, to be honest with you. I think I might actually like it now as a approaching 50 adult, versus a, 17-year-old kid who's thinking about a whole lot of other things, wrestling and comic books.
Yeah.
And I don't think it wasn't my vibe back then because it was definitely geared towards an older audience.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, dang, there's a lot of great actors on that, including Richard Norton, who, passed away last month. So, or 2 months ago now. But, the great cast on that show.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you, I wasn't really into it, but, I caught episodes, I caught bits and pieces, and, that's where I kind of always recognized Noble Willingham from.
Out of all the networks, which network did you watch the most of?
As a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, Fox. I was a Fox kid growing up. And then when I got older, it was like, I didn't watch a lot of those, God, Jesus Christ. Xena, Hercules, Walker
syndicated
Texas,
stuff.
Yeah, those syndicated hour-long shows, and I didn't watch a lot of them, but I did watch Buffy. I liked Buffy a lot.
Walker was CBS.
Okay.
What network did you watch the least of? 3, 2, 1? CBS.
Yeah, probably.
Because
it
was geared for old people.
Exactly. What was Night Court on? Was that on NBC?
Was that NBC or was that AB? Yeah, that was NBC.
Okay.
Was that NBC? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, aside from Night Court, I was pretty much exclusively like Fox all the time. But it was geared towards our age group.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of NBC. Anyways.
Yeah. Again, back more discussion for TV Obscura. Guys, if you like the TV show talks and you're new to the podcast, we have a whole series that we've been doing for, holy crap, like 3 years now called TV Obscura, where we talk about random TV shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Just recently we dropped one on Where's Rodney, the one-episode Rodney Dangerfield pilot. We also talked about Bless This House, the Andrew Dice Clay 16-episode series. But we also talked about Chico and the Man, which isn't as obscure, but there's also an ongoing discussion on that series about what makes things obscure. At the time, they might not be obscure, but they might be obscure later because no DVDs were ever put out. They're not streaming anywhere. And at some time, some of these shows are just going to disappear.
Yeah. YouTube can only hold so much content.
Yeah. And especially when it's like licensed shit, they take it down anyways,
Right.
So, but anyways, go check out TV Obscura if you like the TV talk that Zach and I seem to be having a lot of tonight.
Well, this feels like, no, it doesn't. Never mind.
Not with full frontal nudity. It doesn't feel like a TV show.
I didn't know. There was going to be a fog machine. I didn't know.
Don't blame her. That is unwoke of you. We're back.
Yeah.
We got all the right wingers back. We're good, baby. We're good.
See, he knows. He agrees. They put cat boxes in the classroom.
They're giving kids sex changes. Oh man, I'm so glad I'm not fucking stupid. All right, so back to the party. As everyone is listening to music and having a good time, we see John Carradine sitting by himself and shaking his head. He says he can't go on like this. Cut to Bill walking up to get a drink, and Marcia pours him a cup of, looks like punch, I guess. He asks what's in it, and she just says, "It's good." Bill says he's looking for his wife, to which Marcia replies, and this is a baller thing to say, she goes, "Why?" I'm like, and as an adult now, I'm like, that is a strong come on.
Yeah. I heard someone told me once when you come down to LA and you're at a party and you say you're married, they'll say, "How married are you?"
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes, I've heard that before. In movies, not in real life.
Yeah, apparently some people I know have heard that in real life. IRL, as the
IRL.
kids say. Got to have major Riz. She's got major Riz, and that's no cap.
You're right. Marcia has major Riz, and that is no cap. Bill says bet and leaves.
He says, "Bet, I gotta go skibbity."
Oh, I like how, but there's like a beat. He just kind of like looks at her and he's like, he just walks away. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this.
I love that. I'm like, okay, cool.
Cool. We see a very feral looking member of the colony, TC, sitting by himself and opening an oyster with a knife. He stares at Karen creepily as she walks by talking to Donna and Dr. Wagner. Just then, Marcia breaks up the conversation by giving Wagner his book back. She doesn't want her brother, TC, reading it. Marcia says to the doctor that he's done enough damage already. And then this is so weird. She then gives this like really quick look over at Karen and scowls at her. Marcia has like zero chill.
Zero.
As Marcia walks away, Donna calls her a bitch, but Wagner says they can learn a great deal from Marcia. She's a very elemental person. It's all her natural energy. Donna leans over to Karen and says, Marcia's a nymphomaniac. Cut back to John Carradine looking lonely as he walks through the party trying to connect with people, but no one is talking to him. I feel bad for the guy here. You know, as a kid, I didn't really care, but now as an adult, I'm like, I feel fucking terrible. Like, you know, just being an old person and no one's connecting with you and everyone's sort of ignoring you, you know?
Yeah, I was at a party once and I saw a little old man sitting by himself, and I sat down and started talking to him because no one else was. Turned out he was a jazz musician who used to play with Miles Davis. And then he lived in the community. He lived on the street. It was a block party. He lived on the street with everybody else. And then I'm like, did you guys know that I forget his name now, but he's like, he used to play with Miles Davis. And they're like, I never knew that. I'm like, because you guys are too busy talking about yourselves and not asking questions.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell Bodhi. Ask questions to people. That's the only way you're going to get to know people. And if they don't ask you questions, that says a lot about how they feel about you, you know? Like that friendship's a two-way street, yo.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And as someone who was raised by pretty much his grandfather, because when my mom's single mom, my grandpa in all of elementary school and middle school, when I woke up in the morning, my grandfather was at our house because my mom had to be at work at 6 a.m. or something. He was there when I got home. And then, in high school when I actually could drive and everything, like obviously he wasn't babysitting me then, but I would go once a week and go have lunch with him. That kept going until I moved to LA. Even when I was in college, I didn't see him as much, but I would still try. But then when I was living back closer to home and working, every week I would go have lunch with my grandpa. So even to today, I love fucking old people. That's weird. I love old people.
Yeah, no, I think you should keep that
in. I love old people. I love talking to old people. Honestly, guys and gals, they got great fucking stories. Go talk to an old person. You never know. They may have played with Miles Davis. But don't fuck them.
Well,
or fuck them.
By the way, Marcia nowadays would be so filled with collagen and fake everything.
Yeah.
Because she'd have to be like, the sex symbol.
Yeah. Yes.
Back then, I'm like, she's not. She's,
she's all natural, even down below. It's wild. Oh, gosh. Anyways, just then, John Carradine lets out a bellow and tries to throw himself into the fire. I got to end it, Doc. I got to burn. Charlie stops him, and the doc tells the old man that he'll feel better in the morning. Karen looks concerned, but Donna tells her that it's just one of Earl's favorite tricks to get attention. As the doctor walks Earl home, the old man says, it just goes on and on with no end in sight. And of course, he's referring to, his immortal existence. But we don't know that at the time. And moving forward, I do refer to him as Earl. I just didn't know his name when I was taking notes until, Donna says it. And so I don't refer to him as John Carradine anymore.
No, I won't either.
Dude, remember how gnarled his hands were from arthritis in Shockwaves? Like the camera never lingers on his hands here, but occasionally you get to see him. I don't want that, man. I don't want that to fucking happen to me because his hands look like fucking claws.
It's a stretch.
Is that what you do? You have to stretch your hands out?
Yeah, I mean, I think stretching and doing yoga.
Drinking water?
Yeah, drink water. Y'all don't want gallstones.
No, thank you. No. Cut to Karen and Bill sleeping in their cabin, and Karen wakes up from her nightmare to the sounds of wolves howling in the forest. She tries to wake her husband, but he's fast asleep, so she peeks her head out the window for a listen. First of all, who the fuck sleeps on the ground floor with their window open and like no screen whatsoever, bro?
Nope.
You would, first off, the mosquitoes. The fucking mosquitoes. You would wake up eaten alive. But second of all, anyone could fucking climb through. We're not talking about a fucking werewolf climbing in, but anyone could fucking climb in. You don't leave your goddamn window open on the ground floor.
Yeah, it's I stayed in a house a couple years ago for a wedding, and they didn't have any screens on the windows, and they didn't have air conditioning. And they didn't say any of this in the Airbnb description, by the way. So when we got there, we had to keep the windows open, and like bugs were coming in all night.
Yeah.
Ants infested the house all over the floor. It was disgusting. Nope.
How do you not have screens? Just have screens.
I love nature. I also hate nature at the same time.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyways, she gets scared when she hears more howling and runs back to the bed and wakes up Bill. He thinks it's just the wind or a dog, but Karen says it didn't sound like any dog she's ever heard. Bill says, honey, you were raised in L.A. The wildest thing you ever heard was Wolfman Jack. And then I thought about our Six String Samurai review.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What's your Wolfman Jack impression?
Well, this is the Wolfman Jack talking about the beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, burp, burp.
Was he an L.A. DJ?
I think he was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was that movie? Was he in American Graffiti? I feel like he was.
Oh, God. I haven't seen that since high school.
Maybe Hollywood Nights.
Okay. That I've never seen. Is it Nights, N-I-G-H-T, or is it K?
Yeah, it's with Robert Wool, Tony Danza.
I know the movie, but I've never seen it.
I remember it being pretty good. It was like, Animal House meets American Graffiti kind of vibe.
Okay. But
They piss
in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, they piss in the punch bowl, and then the cops drink it. And they're like, this is good.
Bill tells her to go back to sleep, but Karen stays up by the fire instead. Outside, we see a POV shot of someone or something walking up to the cabin door. Karen hears it and grabs a flashlight to look outside. As she walks outside, she sees a piece of fabric hanging off a branch and grabs it. That doesn't really go anywhere. I don't even know whose fabric that is.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
Karen then hears a noise and scans the wood line but doesn't see anything, so she runs back inside. As the door closes, we see TC watching her from the dense foliage. And by the way, this movie is tight, not just on runtime and everything, but like everything connects to other things. I can't fucking figure out what that piece of cloth was, other than maybe just to let her know that someone was there. But yeah, it feels weird because like everything else has like a connection in this movie.
Yeah, that doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, I think you're right.
The next day, we see Karen and Donna at the tennis court. And man, Dee Wallace's legs are bananas. And by the way, her short shorts look like they're made out of denim or something, but they're like, they cut off like right at like her hips. It's wild.
That the late 70s, early 80s style was... She wears short shorts.
Dude, when I was watching this for funsie the other night, I was high out of my mind. I texted you, I go, I love early 80s movies because they still got their 70s vibes. And Zach was like, shut up, you're high. And I'm like, doesn't make it wrong, though.
I can always tell when Corey's high because he'll just like, whoa, did you see that? I'm like, no, because I'm not watching it right now.
But I want you to be. I want you to be on the couch next to me.
Well, you will be very soon.
I know, in a week and one day. The next day we see Karen. Okay, Dennis, yes, I said that, tennis courts. Donna says, I mean, you heard something outside. Why shouldn't you call the police? As they are picking up tennis balls, Slim Pickens walks through the gate and gently tosses one of the balls back at them and says, what you ladies need is a good retriever. Oh, man, I love it. Donna introduces Karen to Sam, the sheriff. He says that the doc called him about a potential coyote problem. He sees Karen and says,
You're famous, aren't you?
Karen says, sort of. Sam asks if Donna heard anything last night, and she says, I sleep like the dead. And here's another good edit. Cut to Chris and Terry at the morgue talking to writer John Sayles about Eddie Quist's tattoo on his shoulder. So again, that's another one of those good edits where she's like, I sleep like the dead, and it cuts right to a dead body at the morgue.
Yeah, and I think of the scene in The Fog when Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins are in the morgue with I forget his name now, but he was the lead actor in Assault on Precinct 13.
Your boy.
Yeah, Napoleon.
Yeah.
And I love that guy. And like such a difference in acting. But John Sayles is not an actor, so.
No, this scene's pretty bad, unfortunately. So John Sayles takes them back to look at Quist's body, but when he opens the door, the slab is empty. Terry tells him to look at the door, and we see scratch marks and holes ripped in it from the inside. And it's kind of like where it ends. And I'm like, okay, the cool part is seeing the door all ripped up from the inside. But like, first off, can news people just walk into a morgue and talk to the coroner like
yes.
For an active police case?
Yes, credentials.
And then John Sayles is just fucking terrible. He tells this like story about finding working when a coworker came in on the slab. Yeah, it's so bad, dude.
Yeah, stick to writing and directing.
Yeah,
because you're so great at it. So great at it.
It's like if they put Jim Jarmusch in this or something, like,
Yeah, but he was in. He was really good though. He was really good in Sling Blade. Did you see?
I've seen the scene. I've seen that he's like he works at the cash register or something at like a burger joint or something.
Yeah, that's when Billy Bob is like, I like them taters.
Yeah. And he's like weirdly patient with Billy Bob with Sling Blade.
God,
so I take it back. John Sayles is worse of an actor than Jim Jarmusch.
He's like the guy who is purposely looking at the camera. It's to poke fun at the fact that he's a bad actor, but he's actually, you know what I mean? Like they do that in a movie.
Yeah.
But he's just a bad actor.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
But he's not an actor, so,
Yeah. I'm an actor. You make adult pornography. I'm an actor. You're a pornographer, sir. I'm an actor.
I love Boogie Nights.
God damn. Don't make us break down Boogie Nights because it'll take forever. We'll have to do 2 episodes on it. But if you want us to break down Boogie Nights, sign up to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark and become the highest tier producer. And you could choose Boogie Nights for us to break down. But we'll just have to do it in 2 episodes.
It would absolutely have to be 2 episodes for sure.
We definitely would.
That and Aliens, like, Boogie Nights is one of Zach's favorite movies. Aliens is my favorite movie. If we break down either of those films, it will be 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think it took us 4 hours to do The Warriors because it was a favorite movie.
Yeah.
And that movie's 90 minutes long, so.
I know. That was a fun episode. Guys and gals, if you haven't listened to our Warriors breakdown, go check it out. And by the way, Zach, remember I told you my friend Luna? She's the one that I've been doing going through the Kevin Smith movies with. We just dropped the Mallrats episode, and I told you she watched The Warriors like 4 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that. She was like, "This is the gayest movie I've ever seen," and to her that was a huge compliment. So now when her and I text and stuff, she'll drop Warriors gifs on me and stuff, and she'll say like, "Can you dig it?" So like she legit loved it, even though it's the gayest movie she's ever seen.
By the way, the Lin-Manuel Miranda musical version of The Warriors, not so bad. I think because he's gonna eventually. I think the intention is to bring it to the stage, but did a cool rap concept album.
Oh, cool.
He's a huge Warriors fan. It's cool. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's good. It's good. So if you like the Warriors, go check it out.
I mean, it's keeping the name alive, which is cool, and I think we're going to be getting the remastered Rockstar game at some point.
Yep. Then Atari just released a remastered version of The Thing.
Yep.
The PlayStation. And they make it for all platforms now, so you can get it for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I would like to revisit that as well. I played it the first time on the PS2. I'd like to play it again, but I never played the Warriors, so when it gets re-released, I might pick that one up.
You can play it when you come down here.
I'm sure I can.
I'm sure I can.
Back at the colony, Karen is talking to Donna on their porch. They hear a cow, and Donna says that Charlie has a couple of acres of pasture just down the hill. Karen says that cow doesn't sound right. Donna says she's not really sure how cows are supposed to sound. Karen says, not like that. They grab Jerry's rifle and a flashlight and go exploring the property at night. As they are looking around, Donna lists all of the self-healing cults that she's belonged to over the years and then remarks, I figure another 5 years of real hard work and maybe I'll be a human being. I only mention that line because I like it, but it's because she's also a werewolf, so I like the fact that she says, in 5 years of hard work, maybe I'll be a human being.
Yeah, that's funny. I think of John Candy and Stripes. Have you heard of Est? Talking about. That's my favorite scene of that movie where they're all sitting around swapping stories.
I've seen Stripes, like 5 times in my life, but it was never heavy in the rotation. Kind of like Animal House. Like I've seen it like a handful of times, but I never like loved it. It's weird. It's like if it's like a Bill Murray or something before Ghostbusters, I'm not really like into it.
Well, no, you press stop after they graduate from training.
Yeah,
that's when you press stop because the second
weird,
half
right?
of the movie
Stripes,
sucks.
Stripes is weird. It's like almost like it's like Full Metal Jacket where it's like a 2-half movie. It's a 2-act structure film.
Yeah, I think the same. It doesn't suck. It's just not that. It's not as strong as the first half, and I think the same can be said for Full Metal Jacket. I think the first half of Full Metal is way more powerful, but I think Stripes, like after they graduate, they could be done. Like that you could just end it right there. That's the fact, Jack, and then like you're good.
Yeah, I never understood why they had that other part, and they like had this weird RV or military RV. Again, as a kid, I was not into it.
And they're banging Sean Young and what's her face from Halloween,
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know.
PJ Souls.
Yeah. PJ gives the BJ and the
yeah.
cancel.
Yeah. I don't love Stripes.
First half of Stripes, but the first half of Stripes is phenomenal.
And I actually like the second half of Full Metal Jacket, but I like it for the action and everything. And I admit that the first half is like a better story. It's more compelling. Then it kind of just devolves into like your typical like action war movie. But I was so fascinated with Vietnam. We've talked about it so much. I used to watch Tour of Duty. I used to read Marvel Comics, The Nam, because The Punisher, Frank Castle, came from Vietnam. All of our favorite G.I. Joes came from Vietnam. So I had this like fascination with Vietnam. But I mean, you're 100% right. The first half of Full Metal Jacket is infinitely more compelling than the second.
I agree.
You're like, I agree because I said it.
Yep. And Cam is going.
Zach is just making a face like,
Cut. Next scene.
Maybe you only listened to the first half of the Howling review.
We love you, Cam.
The two ladies eventually stumble upon a dead bull. Then, to make matters worse, the flashlight dies. As Karen is freaking out, Sam, Slim Pickens, taps her on the shoulder, and she screams and spins around with the rifle in her hand. I do like how Sam catches the barrel so she doesn't shoot him in the face. Charlie's also with him. Sam apologizes for scaring them. He thought they might be cowjackers. There's another dead one over on the ridge. Karen asks if they know what did it, and Sam says,
"Well, it ain't a coyote. That's a cinch."
He asks if Karen and Donna are all right, and Karen says, "Oh yeah, nothing like a quiet week in the country." The next day, we see Jerry teaching Bill how to shoot a rifle before he joins the rest of the boys as they hunt for the creature that killed those cows. Bill asks why they aren't using a hunting dog, and Jerry says that they don't need a dog when they have TC. Sam says,
"That boy's part bloodhound."
Earl says he thinks it was UFOs, them cattle mutilations. Charlie says, "Good, Earl. You watch the skies for us now. That'll be your job." I like how the old man doesn't realize he's being mocked as he smiles in agreement.
Right.
And of course, like, the cattle mutilation thing, like, in 1981 was really fucking huge at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Karen comes running up to Bill to stop him from joining the hunt. She doesn't want him to go out there on her account. Bill's excited, though. He's never been on a hunt before. He kisses Karen, and Sam says,
"All right, boys, this is a wolf hunt, not a coot show."
Bill says, "All right, the boys are calling me. Do you see the boys? He jokingly rolls his eyes as he walks away. It's a cute, again, dude, you're right. Like the humor in this, this is not a horror comedy.
No.
This is a horror movie with like some comedy parts, some little, jokes and sprinkled in.
Right.
But it's refreshing.
It's dark humor.
Yeah. Cut to Karen at a group therapy session with Dr. Wagner and the rest of the colony ladies. Karen is trying to recall her interaction with Eddie, and there seems to be a breakthrough. She's frantically retelling what happened at the beginning of the movie, but she still can't see Eddie when she turns around, or her mind's not letting her. And I think it's because she did see him. I think it's because she saw him in mid-transformation, and her mind said, nope. And I say that, Zach, as I know I've told you this before, but when I worked at the census in downtown LA, and the 2010 census in downtown LA, we had to kind of like meet up with our groups at different places. And one of the places we did was like a Jack in the Box right in downtown. And I saw the guy outside, so I knew he was there, but he was this homeless guy without a lower jaw. And I don't like deformities. They freak me out. And I specifically don't like people missing their jaws. I literally make the conscious fucking effort. And I say, erase, in my head, I said, erase this. And dude, I'm telling you, if I look back on that, all I see is a black outline. My brain erased it. I feel bad for the dude, but I ain't gonna give him no money. He ain't gonna be able to eat. He ain't got no fucking jaw.
Wow.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, if I didn't have a jaw, like, I would become trap jaw. Like, I would have a fake jaw. Like, put something on.
Sure.
One of these days we're going to... No, I'm just kidding. We already know what all of your fucking trauma and all of your fucking fears are.
Yeah. I'm cleaned up. I've cleaned up.
You've got it all out. We're in our 6th year. You got it all out in the first 5 years. Zach's like, I feel great now.
Thrilled to be alive.
Woo.
Hey. Sorry. Just thrilled to be alive.
Cut back to the hunting party, and Bill shoots his first jackrabbit. The boys are proud of him.
That's what Corey does.
I shoot my jackrabbit. My jackrabbit slims. Back in LA, we see two nuns walking into an occult bookstore run by Dick Miller. My God, Zach, where do we know Dick Miller from?
I mean, every Joe Dante movie.
Yep.
But Dick Miller's a legend. Demon Knight, Chopping Mall.
Gremlins 2.
List goes on and on and on and on. He's so great.
Did you ever see that documentary on him?
No, but I want to see that. I was just thinking about it right when you said it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, but I remember seeing posters for it at the Egyptian when we used to go there, and I forgot what movie we were seeing, but I remember seeing the poster for the documentary.
Maybe no, we won't. But maybe we'll cover that down the road.
Maybe. So he's the knowledge character, of course, and this occult bookstore is way too fucking big to be an occult bookstore. But it's also the precursor to Ray's occult bookstore in Ghostbusters too.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty awesome. He's got all sorts of trinkets there. I'm sure there's tons of Easter eggs in that place.
I think that there is. That guy that he tells to get away from the tarot cards is somebody.
Yeah.
In the horror film industry, I can't remember who, but again,
sure.
guys and gals, just look it up. This movie has a million references in it.
Right. We're not IMDb, but we're pretty damn close.
Yeah, look it up. You go do that.
You go do that. Go Google it. Go Google it.
He gives the nuns the stink eye, then goes back to talking to Terry and Chris. They're trying to find out if any cults are into grave robbing or body snatching because they, and presumably the cops, have no leads on what happened to Eddie Quist's body at the morgue. Terry is leafing through a book on warlocks, werewolves, and demons. Chris remarks that they're looking into whether or not any of Eddie's killings took place on a full moon. Dick Miller says that's just Hollywood baloney. Werewolves can change anytime they want, day or night. That's why they're called shapeshifters. He has a dozen books on them. Terry asks if you can kill a werewolf with silver bullets. Dick Miller says, sure, that or fire. It's the only way to get rid of the damn things. They're worse than cockroaches. I always like how he says cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
They come back from the dead if you don't kill them right. Their limbs even regenerate if you cut them off. Chris asks Dick Miller if he believes in all of this, and he says, "Are you kidding? I'm making a buck here. You want books? I got books. I got chicken blood. I got dog embryos, black candles, wolfsbane. Look at this. Silver bullets. Some joker ordered them. Never picked them up." Man, me reading those lines is I realize I am not an actor.
Well, you pointed out too, he mentions the limbs growing back. One guy, that's not the case.
TC, because but I always thought that it's just going to take time for it to happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay.
Not to be confused with TC from Magnum PI.
Or T.S. Quint from Mallrats.
Sure.
He asks Chris if he's going to buy anything or what. The news producer buys a book on cults, and the one Terry's reading on werewolves. So again, he's the knowledge character. Every movie, you got to have the knowledge character.
It's cool, yeah.
And it just happens to be Dick Miller, so.
He's got that great voice.
He does. Back at the colony, Bill, who's carrying the jackrabbit he shot, asks TC what he should do with it. He says his sister Marcia will cook it for him. Bill says he doesn't eat meat, and TC remarks, "You kill something you don't eat. Now that's a sin." Bill reluctantly agrees and walks over to Marcia's cabin after handing TC his rifle.
I mean, that's a native way. It's an indigenous way.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I agree. If you're going to kill something, you should probably eat it.
I just don't like that word sin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because it's religious. Religious.
It's bad karma.
Yes. Whenever when something comes up in our house that is religious, Bodhi and I go, religious?
Was that from something? Is that a reference?
No, I just made it up.
Okay.
It sounded funny to me. Like, religious. Okay.
I love it. Oh, I'll get to see Big B in a week. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Inside, Bill is sitting in Marcia's kitchen while she prepares the animal. She chops off the rabbit's foot and tosses it to Bill. He looks it over and places it on top of the fridge, then asks how long it'll take to cook. Marcia says she'll cook it later, then walks over to Bill and kisses him. He kisses her back for a second, then throws her off of him. Bill walks out of Marcia's cabin and into the forest at night. As he walks back to his cabin, he's attacked by a large wolf, and his arm is pretty shredded. Like my abs, which are also shredded. No.
He's got his military tattoo on his arm. He's a badass.
He does. Because, dude, Vietnam. Everyone all our characters from the 80s were in Vietnam.
Yep.
Bill eventually makes it back to his cabin, where he calls out for help from the front porch before passing out. Cut to Bill lying on a table in Wagner's office. The doctor is tending to his arm and giving him a rabies shot, which looks fucking painful.
Yeah, they stick it in your belly.
Yeah.
I hope that never happens to me. Nope.
Please no. I don't want that.
It's a fat needle.
Yes. Bill says it happened so fast he didn't see what attacked him. Karen says she wants to go home, but Dr. Wagner says they shouldn't travel right now. A bite like that could be pretty serious. Back in L.A., we see Chris and Terry in bed together. Chris is watching The Wolfman on TV while Terry looks through the book on warlocks, werewolves, and demons. The phone rings and it's Karen. She tells them Bill was bitten by a wolf, and Terry says they'll be right up. As she hangs up on the phone, the movie on TV tells them that whomever is bitten by a werewolf becomes a werewolf himself.
This feels Wolfman.
Yep. That feels
Lon
very,
Chaney.
because she's talking to Lon Chaney Jr. or the gypsy is or whatever in the movie. But that feels very like Monster Squad-y, you know?
It does. This is a weird scene though. She like covers her shirt, like she kind of covers her shirt because it's direct view of the camera, which I felt like was her way of like not showing too much to the camera. So she's, it was not an acting choice. It was a personal choice, which I thought was kind of weird. And now that you tell me about the whole thing with Marcia, and I'm like, what was going on in that set? Was there a little too much like, hey, it's okay?
Yeah, it's a little too much of a boys' club or something. Yeah,
a little perversion going on there. Yeah, I don't know.
Perversion.
A little perversion, if you will.
Perversions.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
I did like the part where Chris was like, "Oh, it's my place. I'll get it." And he's kind of like nudging her as the phone's ringing. He's like, "No, I'll get up and get it." And he kind of nudges her.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, I'll go get it." I thought that was kind of funny and cute.
This This is a man's world. Go get it. Go get that phone.
Cut to Terry driving up the coast to the colony. We hear via a voiceover that Chris says he'll be up there as soon as he pitches the special they've been working on to the old man. Real quick, I also love it when you refer to the boss as the old man. They do it in RoboCop. We're talking about Fred here, McCarthy, but I like when you refer to the boss as the old man.
Yeah, me too. Not the asshole.
I'm gonna pitch our special to that asshole, Fred.
When I get that pitch special to the asshole, I'll be up there.
Exactly. She's greeted by Karen, and the two go for a walk along the coast. Karen tells Terry about Marcia the man-eater. She thinks Marcia is trying to make a move on Bill. We cut to later in the day, and Terry's having a picnic with Karen and Bill. All of a sudden, Terry remembers she didn't pack any veggies for Bill, but he's happily noshing down on some ribs. He says it's fine. If he gets hungry enough, he'll eat anything.
It's really funny.
As someone who doesn't eat a lot of meat, Zach, when you go on a long time without eating meat and then you eat meat, does it fuck your stomach up a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. When we were in Japan, I ate a piece of meat. Something had like a piece of beef cooking in it, and I think Kristen was like, "Do you want to eat that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll eat it," and I ate it. I'm like, "It's a little gamey," but yeah, I don't know, because I'm not a red meat guy, but I do love I do love a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Like a smashed cheeseburger, but I don't know. I eat the Impossible meat, and it's close enough.
Yeah. Well, it definitely shows. You have the shredded abs. I have. Zach's got
on
the six
my
pack.
good days.
I have the keg.
That's something you got as note to everyone who's below the age of 40. You got to work out almost every single day. Do something almost every single day.
I go jogging every day, and it does nothing to improve my keg of a belly.
Well, we're going to blow your colon when you get out here.
Colon blow, yes. Later that night, Bill is reading in bed when Karen tries to put the moves on him. He says that her timing is incredible, and it's fucking true. She just got fucking bit. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I'm on his side for this one.
It's almost like women don't listen. That's what he's thinking.
I know. And then she kind of gets upset. And she's like, we never want the same thing at the same time.
Oh, God.
I mean, come on. Give the guy a fucking break. He just got mauled. But now it's Karen's turn to roll over unsatisfied. So I do like how there's like there's these mirroring of things happening,
Yeah.
Later in the night, we see Karen wake up from another nightmare, but Bill isn't in bed with her. He's walking through the forest at night in his bathrobe. He finds Marcia the man-eater by a campfire. They both quietly undress and make passionate love while wolves howl in the distance. Terry hears this from her cabin and quickly gets out of bed to record the sound with her tape recorder. Back at the campfire, things are getting hot and heavy as Bill and Marcia both transform into werewolves mid-coitus. The practical effects are great. That animation is not.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, but I feel like I've seen that in other movies as well. It's okay. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't...
It's a novelty.
Yeah, and I think it was just monetary reasons is why they had to do that, budgetary reasons. We also see, and I mean, guys and gals, it is literally like a cartoon of them, and they literally transform into wolves while having sex. And I get it, like on paper, you're like, oh, they transform into wolves while having sex. Like that's what the script says. And then as a director, you're like, well, how the hell do we do this?
Rob Bottin's like, I can't do that.
Do you think Bill's Caucasian male penis turns into a red rocket wolf dick?
Little carrot.
Boop. Oh boy, these are the things I want to know.
Oh my gosh.
We also see Dr. Wagner in his office listening to the sounds. Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages. Hey everybody, Corey here.
And it's me, Zach.
We wanted to tell you about our new show called The Coscarelli Factor.
You can find it on our Patreon at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. The Coscarelli Factor covers every single film that Don Coscarelli has directed. And some other little bonus features in there too, like maybe the music videos he directed as well.
That's right. You can find all the episodes under the Auteur de Force tier on our Patreon page. Like Zach said, that's patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. And if you sign up today, you will get access to the complete Carpenter Factor series, where Zach and I went through every single movie that John Carpenter directed, from Dark Star all the way to, well, all the way till the end. So sign up today to our Patreon page, and you can unlock all kinds of other things as well, like ad-free episodes and our monthly Wrap-Up After Dark show.
Patreon helps keep the lights on in the podcasting after dark world. It gets pretty dark out there at night, and all your support keeps us from getting too scared.
And thank you to everyone who's signed up to our Patreon page. We really appreciate it. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side.
And now, back to the show. The next morning, we see Terry at the beach taking notes and listening to the sounds she recorded. Back in Bill and Karen's cabin, Bill walks back into the bedroom and looks at Karen asleep in bed. He crouches down next to her and reaches out but doesn't touch her. He looks full of remorse. Now, this is the one thing I kind of wish, with the 90-minute runtime doesn't allow much time to get in Bill's head and everything, and I do wish we kind of maybe knew a little bit more how remorseful he was, but I do think it comes off. I think he is remorseful of what he did.
He is, but he goofed because Marcia scratches his back, and that wound's not going to heal.
No, because it's not a bite. Yeah, exactly. Nope. Back on the beach, Terry walks up the path back to the colony. As she stands at the top of the cliff, taking in one last look at the ocean, she realizes that she recognizes the scene.
I love this scene.
Me too. Terry quickly takes out the copy of Eddie Quist's landscape drawing and realizes she's standing where he stood. Terry quickly makes her way through the woods back to the colony, but stops when the forest goes silent and she hears someone whispering her name. Now, what I found interesting is that this is something that, first off, the forest going silent is something that happens in a lot of Bigfoot encounters in the woods and everything. It's called the Oz effect, where basically it feels like all the air gets sucked out of everything and everything goes silent, even down to the point of like the crickets and the animal, like the insects. And, people are like, well, that's weird because like obviously smaller animals, when there's an alpha predator in the area, smaller animals will do that, but like insects don't. But it's something that gets mentioned a lot, and it's just funny to see it represented here. And I don't think that they did that because we're going to show the Oz effect. It's just, it's just something that sort of came natural to them, and I just kind of picked up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it happen to me.
Really?
Oh yeah.
When?
In New Mexico.
When? I mean, elaborate.
Well, the indigenous people that live next to the sacred mountain have seen a creature up there that they are certain that they're like, it's like a monkey and a bear put together. And they're like, but it's not a bear and it's not a monkey. But I've been up on that mountain when everything just goes silent.
Wow. But you like nothing came of like, you didn't see anything or hear anything.
I was bit by a werewolf.
Oh, there you go.
No, nothing came about it, but it definitely it's almost like sound just stopped.
Interesting. And then did it like come rushing back, or did it like just like slowly come back?
Yeah, and it's like when your ear pops, and then suddenly everything's back, but there wasn't a sound of a pop. But yeah, totally.
Wow.
I've had it happen.
That's cool. I bet you were close to whatever that was.
Certain.
Dude, I mean, I feel like that's a whole episode. I just want to pick your brain on that one. I listened, seriously, dude, I've listened at this point like almost 400 episodes of Sasquatch Chronicles podcast, and every episode is a different person telling a story, about their encounters, and they're usually just something of like something walked, by, it's like, it's all small things. But I also listen to Werewolf Encounters or Dogman Encounters radio. So, yeah.
Well, I read the Dogman books by Dav Pilkey.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
Not sure they're the same thing.
No.
She looks around and sees a cabin and decides to investigate it. As she does, we see a hairy werewolf hand reach out from the foliage. Oh, and we also someone whispers her name, like Terry.
you know, which is
creepy.
weird because if it's TC, he doesn't know her name. And if it's Eddie, I don't think he knows her name either.
Yeah, I'm like, where did he know it? I've had that happen to me. I was fast asleep one night, and then someone said, "Wake up!" like really loud in my ear.
Okay.
Like they're literally right next to my ear,
Okay.
yelling, and I woke up, and it was so weird.
Where was that? Guys and gals, like, I listen to podcasts all day long. 60% of the podcasts I listen to are paranormal podcasts. So my ears are like a werewolf right now. I'm fully peaked up.
Creepy. It was not a dream.
It was
someone
here, like your place where you
Oh
live
yeah,
now?
in our place, yeah.
No shit.
Like, wake up!
And when you woke up, was anything happening? Like, was there an earthquake? What did
Nope.
you have to go do something?
No, because sometimes Bodhi will wake up in the middle of the night and call for me, but this was not it. This was not the case. And I like sat up and I looked around, and like it was dead silent. Well, we have a fan on in our room, but that's all I could hear.
Wow.
It was creepy. It was really creepy.
One of these days, we're gonna have to do an episode on like our own paranormal stories and shit, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I look forward to that.
Do you have more?
Oh yeah, like night terrors of
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, guys and gals, Zach and I may just do an episode where we just talk about our fucking paranormal shit. That's
The
cool.
onion is getting peeled.
Yeah, this is a whole new layer that Zach and I. We just don't have time to talk about this kind of stuff because
Maybe
we're talking about movies and shit all the time.
Maybe we'll do an episode of the Changeling. We'll cover the Changeling and like we'll do a different format like we did with Predator or
or Rituals. Yeah.
Rituals. Yeah, we did it with Predator as well.
Yeah. Predator and Rituals. We did like the condensed breakdown.
Yeah, we might do that with Deranged. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that one out. As she walks around the cabin looking in the windows, we see animal skins hanging on the porch and nailed to the walls. Terry makes her way up to the front door, which is ajar, so she goes in.
It's not a jar, it's a door.
I was actually going to say, when is a door not a door?
Dad jokes.
We see another quick glimpse of a werewolf. This time it's his hind legs walking through the woods. Terry looks around the cabin and eventually makes her way to a door that has a smiley face sticker on it. When she opens it, she sees that it looks just like Eddie Quist's room at the halfway house in L.A. His drawings and newspaper clippings are hung over the walls, and there's even bone sculptures. As Terry takes pictures of the room, a door that leads outside starts rattling and shaking, and she hears growls coming from behind it. Terry runs out of the room and closes the inner door just as the outer one bursts open. Terry frantically opens the living room window and jumps outside just as the door she just closed explodes. We see a quick glimpse of the werewolf as it does. Outside, Terry lands right next to a hand axe, and she grabs it as she backs away into a little nook under the porch. As she backs herself into a corner, the wooden barrier behind her explodes, and a hairy, clawed hand grabs her. She tries to break free of its grasp but can't, so she starts hacking at the creature's arm with the hand axe. As she severs the hand at the wrist, the creature gives off a blood-curdling howl and runs away. Terry watches in horror as the hairy werewolf hand melts, then turns back into a human hand. She then screams and runs through the woods to Dr. Wagner's cabin, leaving the hand axe behind. What did you think about the effect of the hand going from werewolf back to human?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, you have to take into account it's 1981, so we're dealing with primitive special effects, but it's all practical stuff. And it's also during the day, too, right? So that's an important thing to note, that there's no moon in effect with this film.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved it.
And I like when the werewolf is like breaking through it, like how quickly he's like clawing at like the wood and everything.
Yeah.
It's very animalistic.
Yeah, I love it. This is a very creepy scene.
Well, at this point, I think we only have about 30 minutes left in the movie, and the pace just explodes now.
Yeah, just like Terry's about to explode.
Yeah.
Sort of.
No, her throat is.
Yep.
So she runs to Wagner's cabin. Once inside, she calms her nerves, then picks up a phone and calls Chris. She should have called the police. she doesn't notice that another clawed hand has turned on her tape recorder in the room. And this is a little wonky because it's like, why is her tape recorder in there? Like, I guess she dropped it at the house at Eddie Quist's because she right?
Yeah. That's what I think.
And then he picked it up and just basically brought it.
Yeah.
But it is wonky, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like the fabric on the branch. Like, it's like they missed something.
Yeah, like they should have given us like some establishing shot of it getting picked up, or
Right.
like just somebody like her bag on the ground, and you see two werewolf feet just standing over it or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
So she calls Chris and not the police. When Chris picks up the phone, she says, "You're not gonna believe this." Cut to Karen waking up from another nightmare. She calls out to Bill, and we see him dressing his now healed wound in the bathroom. So he's kind of dressing it just to keep up appearances.
Yeah. Right.
He walks back into the bedroom without his shirt on. Karen tells him she had the same dream again, but this time he was in it. Bill says it's no wonder. She's been asleep all day. You could have been fucking me, but you've been asleep all day. You could have been making me a meal, a sandwich.
Instead, I got to meet with Marcia, who's got a thing with the fog machine in her room. Doesn't want me to look at her. She always wants me to turn on the fog machine. She gets the crew, no problem, but you, forget it.
As he puts on his shirt, this is what you mentioned earlier, Karen sees Marcia's sex scratches on his back. When Karen asks how he got them, Bill said it happened when he was attacked, but she doesn't believe him. They start fighting about it, and Bill slaps Karen in anger. And she grabs her clothes and says she's going to go to the doc's office and call Chris to come and get her and Terry. Bill kind of grabs Karen to keep her from leaving, and she says, "You don't know," and he says, "You don't know what it's like." And she says, "I don't want to know," and leaves.
They're whiny. Do you remember, what was it, Disclosure? Was it the Michael Douglas Demi Moore movie? It was like a Michael Crichton story.
Oh, yeah.
Sexual harassment and like Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
They always do that thing where like that became such a trope, in the mid to late 80s and 90s. When someone, cheated on somebody, suddenly it was like they have some sort of mark on them.
Yeah. That you would know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is that a bite mark? No, it's I've had it since high school. What?
Yeah, that's like around the time of like, I think that was more early 90s, but like, yeah, all those Pelican Brief.
The Pelican Brief.
Like just
God.
all the
Firm.
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the Enemy, yeah.
All those the drama thrillers,
That.
My dad took me to all of them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I saw the Pelican Brief in the theater.
I'm sorry.
I was like, am I supposed to be excited about this? I was like 12.
What is this? Who wrote that one? That wasn't Crichton. That was the guy wrote The Firm. And
I thought that was Crichton. Crichton wrote The Firm.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I think
who
did
the client and
I think that was also Crichton. I think they're all Crichton.
Are they? I thought it was another guy. The other guy.
Maybe, but yeah.
Damn it. The other guy.
The other guy, not Michael Crichton guy.
The other white guy.
who writes dramas and thrillers and everything.
Yeah, it's based on a.
Yeah, look up the client. You're gonna
John
see
Grisham.
John Grisham. There you go.
The other white guy.
You're right. I apologize. You're right.
Fun fact: Michael Beck, who plays Swan in The Warriors.
Yeah.
He does all the audiobooks. He did all the John Grisham audiobooks back in the day.
Oh, that's really fucking cool, actually.
He made a killing off that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm sure those things are crazy downloaded.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cut back to Terry. That's awesome. You go do that, Swan. Cut back to Terry telling Chris what she knows, that Eddie Quist is alive and used to be part of the colony. She also thinks that Dr. Wagner might be part of everything. Chris asks Terry if there's a file cabinet in the doctor's office. She says there is, and he tells her to look for a file on Quist. She takes the phone with her to the filing cabinet and looks through the files. She finds 3. So we find out that it's Marcia Quist, T.C. Quist, and Eddie. So we know that they're all related and they're all, and it's funny if you note, and I only picked this up because of the IMDb thing, but Marcia's is the smallest file because she doesn't like Dr. Wagner, so she wasn't going to cooperate with him anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Here we go. As she pulls the last one out, and I love this, a hairy clawed hand quietly reaches over and grabs it from her. I love how quiet and stealthy the werewolves are.
Yeah.
If they want to be.
Yeah, it's great.
She looks up and sees Eddie in all his werewolf glory. Tall, long snout, big ears, and standing on his haunches. Or I think it's like his legs are hawked. It's where the dogs have that, like that, you know, where it kind of goes down and then out type of thing.
Yes. They did that in The Arrival, the Charlie Sheen movie.
Can't believe you're making an Arrival reference. I understood that reference.
I love that movie. I thought that movie was really cool.
Oh man, there's a bunch of sequels to that, by the way.
There unfortunately were.
Yeah.
It came out but I think that came out the same year as Fire in the Sky. So
I think it did, and all like around the same time Species came out. There was like mid 90s. There was that like alien movie, like, you know, resurgence.
Yeah.
Fire in the Sky. I saw that in the theater.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, you know what? I actually liked it the second time around.
Okay.
But The Arrival had more alien
stuff in it.
Yeah, with the big ship and the satellite and all that. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. No, the satellite that's down like in South America, that's like in every movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. I know. I saw it. I know. Now, one thing I did like, Zach, in this is when the werewolf takes the files out of her hands, he's very gentle about it, which I like it because it shows that him being brutal is a choice. Like, it can be gentle if it wants to.
Yeah, I like that too.
Eddie swipes at Terry, knocking her and the receiver to the ground. Chris listens as Terry frantically tries to get away from the monster. She uses the surgical light to blind Eddie to try and get away. Cut to Chris calling the sheriff department for whatever county the colony is in. It's funny because he says it, I couldn't understand it, but the subtitles just say county. They don't actually say the name of the county.
Yeah.
I know it because I actually rewound it just to get it, and I was like, oh, they didn't even have it in
45 minutes away.
Yeah. Yeah, 45 minutes away, aka 7 hours away.
Yeah.
Back in the office, Terry is knocked to the ground and cornered by Werewolf Eddie. Cut to Sam the sheriff talking to Chris on the phone. He says,
I'll get a hold of the state boys and we'll meet you down at the center.
And nice little foreshadowing as we see him eating a can of Wolf brand chili. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that's funny.
We cut back to Wagner's office and we see Eddie picking Terry up off the ground by her throat. She tries to fight him, but it's no use.
Later.
Eddie pulls her close and sinks his massive teeth into Terry's neck, quietly killing her. As a kid, I was disturbed by how silent and calm her death was. I just like, because she's like kicking and stuff, and there's no growling, there's no like big noises, there's no like crunching sounds. He just like slowly sinks his teeth into her, and nothing, like it's just her feet stop kicking. And I thought that was more disturbing than if it was like all violent and crazy.
Yeah, I agree. It's disturbing.
And I like Terry, and it's also, and by the way, the body count in this movie is very fucking low, and she was like one of the characters I actually liked the most, so it kind of sucked doubly that she died.
I know, right? No, I agree.
The camera pans down on Eddie's files on the floor, and we see medical drawings of what his anatomy looks like when he changes into a werewolf.
Hey, yo.
Further proof that the doctor is involved.
His anatomy.
Cut to Ray's occult bookstore, and Chris is grabbing the silver bullets and dropping a wad of cash. Dick Miller chases after him, saying he has to contact a jeweler to find out what to charge for them. Chris says, bill me.
Oh, must be nice.
Yeah. Back at the colony, we see Karen making her way to the doc's office. She opens the door and says she has to use the phone, but then stops when she sees how messed up the place is. She looks around and eventually finds Terry's dead body laying on a table behind a curtain. Her throat is ripped out and her eyes are fully bloodshot, a detail that I never noticed as a kid watching this on VHS, and I see it now and I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, these are the moments when you're like, this is why things get remastered and put on Blu-ray in 4K. I don't know about 4K. I don't know what the difference would be for 4K, but at least for Blu-ray, it looks great.
Where did you watch this, by the way?
I have the
Shout
Scream Factory.
Okay.
Yeah, the Scream Factory version, and I'm sure there's a 4K version. Scream Factory makes you triple dip all the time, so. But you don't need a 4K for this. Just Blu-ray's fine.
Yeah, I don't double dip on movies like this if I already have the Blu-ray, you know?
Yeah. Arrow is releasing something soon, and shoot, I'm blanking on what it is right now. Anyways, there's like a 4K and a Blu-ray. I'm like, the box art is really cool. I'm like, do I need the 4K of this though?
Well, you don't even have a 4K player, but you probably will in the future, though.
Yeah, and most 4Ks come with the Blu-ray anyways now.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing, I will say the nice thing is, though, 4Ks are region free. So I got the, like, you know, when you get the Second Sight 4K Blu-rays, like I got the It Follows Second Sight one, and the Blu-ray does not play in anything because it's region 2, because Second Sight is a UK company, but the 4K does because all 4Ks are region free.
Okay, so yeah, it's something to consider.
So you don't technically have to buy a region-free 4K player, Zach, a regular one, and then you could get any Arrow 4K from the UK. We could get, you know, send David some money, send him over, and they would play in it because all 4Ks are region-free.
Do I need to get a 4K TV?
You don't need it to watch the movie. I don't have a 4K TV, but you're like, quote-unquote, not getting the full experience. Whatever. I mean, eventually, you know, if you ever do buy a new TV, I mean, you're going to. You're going to be alive for another, 50 years. You're going to have another TV. It will be 4K, it just will. So
this is true.
You're kind of like future-proofing yourself. But no, it'll still play. It's just, you're just not getting the highest quality you can possibly get.
All right, fine. It was the Cobra that's coming out.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
Because the box art for that looks beautiful. So also with Dark City.
Dark City, dude. I fucking love Dark City. Alex Proyas' follow-up to The Crow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, Dark City is fucking awesome. If you guys haven't seen that, watch that. Karen whimpers as she covers her dead friend's body with a sheet. She then tries to use the phone, but it's dead. She hears howling coming from outside and backs away from the door and into the table where Terry's body is. But Eddie is now under the sheets and sits up and scares her. Karen tries to crawl away but runs into Terry's body and screams. Eddie says, "Hello, Karen. I'm glad you came," and steps into the light. We can see he still has 2 bullet holes in his head. His giant forehead. Dude's, I love Robert Picardo, but he's got a giant forehead.
He's got more hair than he does.
That's a wig, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Karen backs away as Eddie keeps talking. "You said on the phone that you wanted to get to know me. Well, here I am, Karen. Look at me." Eddie leans in and his eyes are also blood red. Eddie then says, "I want to give you a piece of my mind." He sticks his finger into the hole in his forehead and pulls out a bullet and the pieces of his brain. So cool.
Yeah.
Then Karen watches as Eddie starts transforming into his true form, the wolf. And this is it. This is the centerpiece fucking, transformation and all, I think it's one of the best in cinematic history.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, you got to consider this is probably pretty low budget too.
This movie is very low budget. During the transformation, Karen grabs a bottle of acid on the table behind her because every doctor's office has acid.
Always.
And she throws it into Eddie's werewolf face, burning him. She runs out the door as Eddie screams in pain. Cut to Chris almost getting into an altercation with a guy at a gas station as he makes his way north to save the day. I like how Chris is like, "I need to get some gas." And the guy's like, "Chill out, man. Not all of us can afford a Mazda."
Oh, God. There was a time when that car was considered really cool.
I know. Cut back to the colony and Karen is getting into her car to leave when Charlie and Jerry stop her by gunpoint. They escort her to a large barn on the property where all the other colony members are waiting for her. They're all werewolves, and they're all standing around Terry's mutilated body. Karen is relieved when she sees Dr. Wagner and goes running to him, but he just says, no, and pushes her away. Cut to Chris speeding through traffic on the 101. And Bro, he's going to be there in 45 minutes, man.
I'll be there in 45 minutes.
You can't even get from Santa Monica to North Hollywood in 45 minutes. How the fuck is he supposed to get all the way up the coast?
Yeah, the only time you could would be at like 5 in the morning.
Yes. Or Thanksgiving Day was the best day for traffic in LA because no one's on the road. Or when it rains sometime in like January, whenever it rains, no one's on the road because everyone stays inside. And I'm like, okay, this is great.
Yep.
Back in the barn, Karen asks where Bill is. Marcia says he's one of us now. The doc says that given time, Bill would have brought Karen into the fold. Donna says that the doc helped her and Jerry to adjust to their new lives after they were bitten. Wagner says Carrie can have Bill back if she accepts the gift of lycanthropy. Not all the werewolves at the colony seem to be on the same page, though. There seems to be a rift between the members that want to go back to the old ways of hunting humans and the ones that believe in what Dr. Wagner is doing. Wagner pleads with them, but the danger of exposure. We need the shelter to plan, to catch up with society. Times have changed, and we haven't. Not enough. Marcia shoots back. You're through, Doc. She's ours now. Outside the colony, we see Chris park his car and get out with the rifle. It's funny sound design, Zach, because like he comes, driving in hot with his Mazda, and they make screeching sounds as he slams on the brakes and slides across the grass. Not pavement, the grass.
Haven't you maybe he was making that sound in his mind, like, when you're on your BMX bike,
or when you're on your big wheel and you pull remember the emergency brake on the big wheel?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking bro. I always wanted the G.I. Joe one because it came with the water gun on the front.
Yeah.
But bro, my friend had the Knight Rider one, so I got to use that.
Oh, so cool. John Toma, that 80s dude, just posted a picture of that the other day. I'm like, yep, that can live in my head forever. Who wants to live forever? I do with the Knight Rider.
Did you have a big wheel growing up?
I did. I had a generic one.
Mine was too. It was like blue and yellow or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, I just rode it so many times that the wheels eventually got holes in them.
Yeah, me too. Like, because they're plastic. They're not rubber. Yeah. They're just plastics and they break. Me too, bro. Me too. Oh, God. Oh, man. To be a kid again. In the 80s. I don't want to be a kid now. I want to be a kid in the 80s again.
We got to do an episode of that, of 80s Kids Unite on big wheels.
Yeah, I'm fucking down with that, bro. We all had them.
80s Kids Unite. It's another show we have on Podcasting After Dark and on $2 late fee, and it's powered by Patreon members. So if you're a Patreon member, you suggest a topic, and we will discuss it on the show. This month, in particular, we're talking about Scholastic Book Fair. So that was really fun. That should be out by the time this episode airs, so go check that out. And yeah, I mean, you're the ones that choose the topic for us. We got coming up in June. We got one coming up soon. So it's my birthday month. Maybe someone wants to choose something for my birthday.
Oh, well, since I'm a Patreon member for $2 late fee, maybe I can choose something for Zach's birthday, and it'll be Why is Boogie Nights the best movie?
Yeah, 80s Kids Unite.
Exactly. Where was I?
Oh, it's also on our Patreon. It's also on our YouTube channel. So go to our YouTube channels, hit the subscribe button. Keep us in the zeitgeist of the algorithm, whatever, the machine.
Back inside, Karen tries to make a run for it, but TC blocks the exit. He holds up his stump and says, "See what your friend did to me?" referring to Terry cutting off his hand at the cabin. The doc keeps pleading with his wolf pack to let Karen live. She's too well known to kill. Charlie says they have to make it look like an accident. The doc puts his foot down and says he won't let him do it. Marcia scratches his face and Charlie hits him in the stomach with the butt of his gun. Earl stands over him and shakes his head. "You can't tame what's meant to be wild, Doc. It ain't natural." Cut to Chris looking for Terry in Doc's office. Her tape recorder is playing and it has blood on it. Chris looks through the Quist files, but when he sees a shadow move, he puts his back against the door and aims his rifle. Just then, Eddie breaks the door window and grabs the gun from Chris's hands. He's back to human form, but half his face is melted off from the acid Karen hit him with. And by the way, he looks awesome.
Yeah, I love this. This is what reminded me of Griffin Dunn in Werewolf in London.
Yeah. Eddie says, "Hello, brave boy." Chris asks, "Eddie? You know me, and I don't know you. Now, why is that?" Chris asks where Terry is, and Eddie says, "Down at the ritual center." Chris asks what Eddie did to Terry. Just then, her screams start playing on the tape recorder. Eddie says she has a sexy voice. Chris calls him crazy. "I'm much more than that, bright boy." Eddie hands Chris his rifle back and says, "Here, take it. Call it a gift." I like it kind of taps his chest, like, "Shoot me here," you know? Because he doesn't think there's silver bullets in there. Then he starts changing in front of Chris. Our reluctant hero puts a round in Eddie's throat, then his chest, putting that dog down for good.
And this moment when his transformation happens again reminds me a little bit of in Inner Space when he's from Martin Short's turning from the cowboy back into Martin Short.
Mm-hmm. Did Rob Bottin do the effects in Inner Space?
I don't know, but if we cover Inner Space later on this year,
we'll look into that.
Yeah.
You go figure that one out?
You go do that.
Back at the barn, the rogue werewolves settle on burning Karen and Terry's bodies in the car and pushing it off the road by the coast. Jerry and TC drag Karen outside, but Chris blocks their path. TC says that gun won't do him any good and starts transforming. Chris shoots him and TC drops like a sack of shit. The other werewolves quietly look down at their fallen brother in confusion. Chris says he has silver bullets. I like how Jerry kind of says under his breath, he's like, "Silver bullets, my ass. Get up, TC." I like how he tells TC to get up.
Yeah.
He raises his rifle and Chris plugs him in the gut. Jerry dies surprised. You know, I don't want to die surprised. I don't want my last words to be, "Whoa," you know?
I want to die in my sleep.
Me too. Me fucking too. Now it's the doc's turn. He pushes his way past the others and walks up to Chris, who's pleading with him to stop. Wagner doesn't, so Chris hits him with silver. As the doc goes down, he says, "Thank God." As a kid, I always kind of liked that.
Yeah. These deaths are kind of funny because they're just instant.
Yeah. It's like once it's in you, once the silver's in you, you're dead.
Once it's in you, you're dead. Nah, it doesn't work.
we didn't yes and that one very well.
No, it didn't work.
That's okay. That's why sometimes we got to workshop things. And guys and gals, you always hear the workshop.
If you want us to workshop even more, sign up to our Patreon. Patreon.com/podcastingafterdark.
The rest of the colony members start to change as they are backed into the barn at gunpoint. Once they're all inside, Chris and Karen lock the front door with Jerry's rifle, then pour gasoline around the barn and burn it down, killing the wolf pack inside. It's cool because we see a bunch of different, they're all in different various stages of transformation and everything, but it's a cool scene.
Yeah.
Karen and Chris get inside the car and speed off as other werewolves scratch and claw at the vehicle. As they drive down the road, they see Sam, the sheriff, waiting for them. He growls, showing off his werewolf teeth, then raises his rifle and fires as Chris slams on the brakes. Chris gets out of the car and shoots Sam with a silver bullet, putting him down. The shootout punched a hole in Chris's gas tank, and he and Karen run for Sam's police cruiser as the car explodes, because that's what happens in the 80s.
That's what happens with Mazdas.
Yeah. Fucking Mazdas. Chris hands Karen the rifle as he tries to turn over the engine. Karen screams as the car is surrounded by werewolves clawing at the windows. One breaks through the rear window as Chris speeds away. The beast bites Karen on the shoulder and she shoots it with the rifle. When Chris and Karen look in the back seat, they see Bill's dead body. Karen says, "We have to warn people, Chris. We have to make them believe." And then we see a cool stop motion shot of the werewolf standing there in the street kind of howling. As a kid, I loved it because I love stop motion. I think it's awesome. But remember, we saw one of those models in Dr. Mordred.
That's right. Nice callback.
Yeah, because the guy who did the stop motion in this movie did the stop motion in Dr. Mordred. And
David Allen or
something. He kept, and he had it there. Man, Dr.
Awesome.
Mordred was fucking awesome.
God, those full moon movies are so much fun. Yeah, we're going to do more full moon movies down the road. There's more coming out. I think Seed People is coming out on Blu-ray later this year. And I love that movie. It's a very underappreciated full moon film.
Okay. And And of course, we talked about full moon movies with our buddies over at Puppet Masters and Castle Freaks. And we talked, they were on our show talking about a watch list, and we were on their show talking about Zone Troopers.
Right. Good
old Zone Troopers. I very much enjoy that movie. It's not my favorite full moon movie, but I very much enjoy it.
Right. I the upcoming guest I have for $2 late fee, which we'll talk about at the end, he tells a Tim Thomerson story.
Ooh.
Because he did a movie with Tim Thomerson, Uncommon Valor.
I love Tim Thomerson. He's awesome.
I love Tim Thomerson too, so much.
Cut to the news station, and Karen is getting ready to go on air. Chris says he isn't sure he can go through with this. Karen says he has to. Cut to the news being taped, and Lou Landers is talking about the fire that's burning out of control up the coast. Firefighters have discovered the blaze started at the colony. In the control room, Chris tells Fred that Karen is ready for her segment. Fred said...
I'll interrupt you really quick by saying they even make a reference to Guyana, Jim Jones.
Yeah. Oh, that's... Okay. So they said, it's like a scene out of Guyana. I didn't get it, so I didn't note it, but I remember them saying it, so it's a reference to Jim Jones.
Yes, because for those that don't know, Jim Jones started his cult in the Bay Area and then moved down to South America. And when the California state senator came to investigate with reporters, and they were all, not all of them, but most of them were murdered at the airstrip after the trip. They basically, Jim Jones gave the signal on the walkie-talkies to drink the Kool-Aid, and everyone died. Unless you faked it and you hid, which is what some people did, and they survived.
Yeah.
And now I guess apparently Bill Hader's going to play Jim Jones in a retelling.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Wow.
There's his Oscar or Emmy moment, I guarantee you.
Yeah, so I didn't get the reference. Thank you so much for filling that one in for me.
Yeah, I pay attention.
So in the control room, Chris tells Fred that Karen... Fred says, if she shows any signs of freezing, go directly to commercial. Karen starts reading her report, but it's not what's on the teleprompter. Good evening. From the day we're born, there is a battle we must fight. A struggle between what is kind and peaceful in our natures and what is cruel and violent. The choice is our birthright as human beings, and the real gift that differentiates us from the animals. But now, for some of us, that choice has been taken away. A secret society exists and is living among all of us. They are neither people nor animals, but something in between. Monstrous mutations whose violent nature must be satisfied. Fred laughs in disbelief and tells the director that's enough, but Chris yells at them to leave it. Karen says that she knows it's hard for people to believe, but she has proof, and tonight she's going to show them something to make them believe. She stands up and starts changing right next to Lou at the anchor desk. I love it. He goes, holy shit! We get a little montage of people watching the news. Did you catch Mick Garris on the couch?
I did. I was like, is that who I think that is?
Oh, yes. We see two kids in their bedroom watching on a portable TV. One of the kids says, wow, the news lady turned into a werewolf. We also see Dick Miller watching, and he's like, oh, boy. Like, there goes the neighborhood. And then we see a liquor store owner. Back at the news station, the camera guy looks shocked, but keeps doing his job because he's a fucking professional.
Right.
As werewolf Karen stands there in all her glory. She looks at Chris as he shoots her with a silver bullet. Fred yells at the director to switch to a commercial, which of course is for dog food. Cut to everyone watching at the news at the bar. One guy says, the things they do as special effects these days. The guy next to him says, it was real. She turned into a werewolf and they shot her. His friend says, you're a bastard. Doesn't mean it wasn't real. The camera keeps dollying down the bar, and a guy orders a steak for himself and a hamburger for the lady sitting next to him. When the cook asks how he wants the burger, we see the lady is Marcia, and she just wants the burger rare. Credits roll as we see the hamburger being cooked. There's actually a post-credit scene. It's a clip from The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. That Chris was watching earlier, and the gypsy says, Go now, and heaven help you. And that's it. That's the Howling.
So a couple things there. One, Marsha looks directly at the camera when she says rare.
Yeah, of course.
And the post-credit scene, both of those things up until this point in 1981, that was not commonplace at all. So that's very groundbreaking in my opinion for there to kind of be like a cliffhanger ending like that, which would obviously segue to a sequel, which would easily be a sequel. The other sequel didn't come out for, I think, many years to come. Hold on, I'm going to check.
Yeah, Howling 2, your sister's a werewolf or something like that.
Yeah, the sequel wouldn't come out for another 3 or 4 more years. Like 1985.
Oh, yeah, no.
Which is way past the amount, and especially in the 80s, way past the amount of time for a sequel to like have some sort of relevance.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
Yes, yes, it was. When Christopher Lee was in it with like weird sunglasses and shit.
Yeah, and Sybil Danning, you know.
And that outfit. Now, that outfit, though, is iconic at this point.
It is, and the furry boobs are iconic too.
Yes,
unfortunately, and it was that moment at the end. It was just like, oh yeah, you remember how kind of like ahead of its time this film is in so many ways, and yeah, I love it. I think it's more entertaining now, in my old age, than it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, I picked up a lot more stuff now watching it. Zach. The ending here reminds me of They Live at the end. Well, or should I say They Live's ending reminds me of the Howling's ending.
That's a great comparison, and I agree.
I love that shit, man. I love that, like, when you, like, I mean, it's easier to do it with, like, a news or something like that, but I love, like, where you get, like, you see, like, what the ramifications are for your actions, and it's everyone watching the news and shit.
It is literally, they're in a bar, they're watching it happen.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Total. And what year was They Live? Is it 87?
87.
87, yeah.
I think, or 87 or 88, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, a good solid 5+ years removed from this. So I would imagine this had, a little bit of an influence on that. But I love endings like that. And you're right, like having an ending like this, like leaving it open-ended like that. Yeah, I'm expecting the next movie to be Marsha, doing something. I don't even think she's in the next one in part 2. I haven't seen part 2 in a fucking million years.
I'm sure I would not be surprised if Joe Dante's been asked this question, or Dee Wallace, but if there was ever, an intention to make a sequel, and how come that never came about. But man, yeah, having everyone know what's really happening in the world, it's totally They Live.
And I love the fact that it doesn't matter. It's unlike They Live. They're just like, no, that happened. Moving on.
Right. And, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like human nature is it's always the same. It's always the fucking same.
It's all the same. All the names
change. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, buddy. I didn't know you hadn't seen it in a while. Again, like I said, this is a movie that was heavily in the rotation as a kid for me, and I also watch it pretty, frequently as an adult, maybe once every 5 or 6 years. Unlike, man, remember when you were a kid, you watched the same movie like fucking a million times?
Over
within
and
1
over.
year, you'd watch it a million times. Now I'm just...
Like Inner Space.
And now, as a kid, I watched Aliens like 500 times, but now I watch it only like once every 4 years, It's like, oh, that sucks,
Because we were breaking down movies like Cam Sully's film, and we can break down your movies and we can watch the movies we really want to watch, like Aliens, if you become a Patreon at the highest level. Patreon member if you go to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark, sign up today, be at the highest tier, just like Cam, awesome, cool Cam Sully, who's got the Jacked Up Review podcast, and you can support the show, help support us. Hey, look, it keeps us entertaining you. It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
That's right. And I'll have the link to Cam's podcast in the show notes, so please go check that out. It's a lot of fun. Like Zach said, we've been on there and everything. Jacked Up Review Show podcast. Good times, always. Zach, what you got going on? We're kind of like halfway through the month. Well, you know what? Hold on. Real quick, before you talk about that, I'm going to be down there with you in a week. So by the time you guys listen to this, a week later, we will be at Pasadena Comic-Con doing some shit. We don't know what we're doing yet, but we're going to be doing some shit, and we will be there. So if you're in the area, come check us out. Our buddy Scott Zillner runs the show. Pasadena Comic-Con. Zach and I will be there. Be there or be square. Yeah. So, Zach, what do you have going on? Do you want anything the end of this month, or do you just want to tee up next month?
Well, I really enjoyed the interview I did with Ira Hayden. Grace and I interviewed Ira from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Really fun interview. A lot of stuff that I did not know about his career. A lot of really fun like pop culture stuff and some upcoming things down the pipe later this year that he's working on that's coming up. So keep an eye out for that. Go watch the YouTube version of it because there's a lot of really fun clips that I added into the interview. June I interview Todd Allen from Witchboard fame, but Todd Allen has had a storied career in Hollywood. He tells a story about how he got one of his first acting gigs. It'll blow your mind, and it is what could have happened if he would have stayed with the original plan of his career, would have changed the trajectory of 80s cinema forever.
Is it as odd as Charles Edwin Powell's first acting gig in Hollywood being Jason Miller's glorified stand-in for Exorcist 3?
It's bigger than that.
Okay.
Like to the point where, yeah, you just got to listen to the interview to find out.
I'm excited to listen to it. I'm so upset that I wasn't behind the scenes. Zach and I were trying to get that, or Zach was the contact person. He was trying to get that interview off the ground for like 4 fucking years now.
Oh, during COVID.
It's been insane. It's been fucking insane. And finally, Zach books him, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" Obviously, and I'm like, "I'm fucking flying back from Maryland for my cousin's wedding that day, and I didn't want you to like reschedule because it's fucking taken 4 years to get him." So I was like, just do it. But I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, I will give you another little behind the scenes, listeners, that there's one person in particular who was supposed to come on my show, canceled, rescheduled 16 times on me. I'm not joking. 16
Jesus
times
Christ.
to the point where Dustin, who's, taking a break, but does read the messages on our $2 late fee email, he's like, you need to say no and say that you're being disrespected, and just nope, that person will not come on the show. You will not have that person on, because that is way too many times to be disrespected. Last minute cancellations. It's a whole other rant that I'll go on with Corey offline. But anyways, Todd was great. And the precursor episode, I have a special guest host, celebrity guest host. We're going to be talking about the movie Silverado.
Oh,
and it's
cool.
Someone I've had on the show before. He's an actor in a movie that we broke down on our show as well. So there's a connection there, thanks to a Patreon member. And he and I discuss his favorite movie, Silverado. So it's gonna be special.
Nice.
June is gonna be a fun, different month here on over on $2 late fee.
Yeah, and Zach and I are going to try to record as much as we can when I'm staying with him and everything.
Yeah.
We're going to be recording pretty much a lot. So we're going to try to do wrap-up together. We're going to record Zach's breakdown movie review for the month will be Deranged, but we're not going to break it down. We're definitely not breaking it down. We're going to try to figure out something else to do with it. It'll be different. And I think we're going to do wrap-up. I think we might do not an 80s Kitchen Night. We're going to do something else. Who knows?
Tales from the Video Store is going to be combined with Wrap Up.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing
we'll
that
drop
for
them both.
Patreon members. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just drop them both on the same feed at the same time and everything. So we're going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. And hopefully, more cons in the future. That was always the plan. Last year was just very wonky for me.
Slowly getting back into it.
Yeah, I feel like I had to put like pad in my career on hold for a year as I took care of my mom as I happily took care of my mom. But I'm also happy to get back to sort of doing what we were supposed to be doing all last year anyways.
Right.
Well, This was awesome. Thank you again, Cam. Everyone go check out the Jacked Up Review Show podcast. I'll have a link in the show notes. And as always,
we'll catch you on the howling side. Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits two challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV, and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a Surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.